This programme on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire has won a prestigious award. Graham Mack has been given the BBC's Local Radio Award for Presenter of the Year. His opposition included former TV presenter Anne Diamond. Here's the winning announcement.
And the judges said, this broadcaster draws your ear to the radio with his distinctive style. The Programme Presenter Award goes to Graham Mack of BBC Wiltshire.
A lot of people, when they get a bad cold, say they've got the flu. Well, if you've ever actually had influenza, you'll know how bad the real thing is. And that's why I went and had a flu jab. I went to Asda, got mine for £8. Shireen helped me through the process.
How are you with needles?
Not good, I'm scared of them.
Oh.
I'm a baby.
This one is not really. I mean, it's very short and thin. You're not going to feel it at all.
Okay.
As long as you don't look. Okay.
As long as I don't look?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I won't look.
If you turn, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. You're right, I didn't feel a thing.
Because I haven't done it.
Oh. Kate Mundy with that report, and Kate made me laugh the other day. You see, Kate Mundy was out doing an outside broadcast where they were crossing to Kate from time to time for her to be live on BBC Wiltshire. Now, when you do that kind of thing, you have headphones on and you get messages in your ear. And our station engineer, Ian Dyer, was giving her a message, and she's talking away, and she's getting this message. Kate, you're not hot. Kate, you're not hot. Now, what he was saying in BBC radio engineer speak, when you're not hot, it means your microphone isn't on. Your microphone's not hot. You're not hot. But can you imagine trying to concentrate when someone's in your ear going, you're not hot? Does anybody know who is representing the United Kingdom in the Eurovision Song Contest?
Jealous.
Not jealous?
David Cameron.
It's not David Cameron. I'll give you a clue. His first name is Engelbert. It is, that's...
Is that a real name?
Yes, his real name.
I thought it was Engelbert. I thought it was his second name.
I'll give you his full name. Engelbert Humperdinck. That's his name. Yes, I'm not lying. That's his name. The Mack Pack fixed up the vandalised skate park in Walcott on Saturday. Our team included Council Leader Rod Blue, Swindon's Chief of Police Paul Howlett, the Mayor Rex Barnett, the South Swindon MP Robert Buckland, and the editor of the Swindon Advertiser Dave King, and a cast of local people who came down and made it all happen. Power to the people! All right, well, we think we've got most of the painting done, but job's never over until the boss is satisfied, so... Ian, your official title, please?
I'm a ranger.
You're a park ranger for Swindon Borough Council.
Yeah. That's correct.
You've had the team here.
Yeah, they've done an excellent job. Everyone pulled their weight.
How about the kids?
Oh, excellent job.
They were.
They thoroughly enjoyed it.
They did, actually. The kids went away with more paint on them than on the skate park.
True. But sort of getting them involved, at least it might sort of help them to look after the place.
It's 8:05.
Thanks a lot, Deb. You know, I rang my mother to ask about this wedding that we've been invited to. You know, this one.
Yes.
The thing that's bothering me, Mother said this to me. This shouldn't bother me. My mother said, she said, your Uncle Norman's going to be the MC on the day. Well, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. You know, if only... I could understand that if the family didn't have a broadcaster in the family who regularly hosts events all over Swindon for the Rotary Club, and everybody who asks me if I'm not busy, I'll host an event or an auction. So it's like my Uncle Norman, he's a retired hairdresser. I mean, he's going to be rubbish. I'm going to sit there and Julie's going to be quiet. I'm like, oh, what's he doing? She's going to be quiet. The whole thing is I'm going to be critiquing my Uncle Norman, who I know is going to be rubbish going in.
Yeah.
Is that wrong of me? Is that wrong?
Yes.
Christine Hamilton.
Good morning, Graham.
Are you still Mrs. British Battle Axe?
I am Mrs. British Battle Axe. I changed my name by legal deed poll. Yes, I did. So I am Mrs. British Battle Axe.
You're even Brit_Battle Axe on your Twitter account.
I'm Brit_Battle. I know, it's a bit of a joke. The press dubbed me a Battle Axe way back in 1997, and, hey, you might as well run with it. It's a joke, really. Of course it's a joke, but it's a good one.
Are you near anything you can Twitter on right now?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I could Twitter, yes.
Are you near your phone?
I'm a woman. I can do two things at once.
Okay, you near your phone or computer? Can you just tweet, I'm on with Graham Mack from BBC Wiltshire?
I'm on...
With Graham Mack, Graham.
Oh, I've left an A out.
Oh, no,
Graham, yeah.
Mack, Mack.
On...
BBC Wiltshire.
I'm on with Graham Mack on BBC Wiltshire.
That's it.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much.
BBC Wiltshire with Graham Mack. And that's your sport.
Thank you very much, Jono. Well, Oxford, eh?
Oh, no.
Of all the teams, after 10 games unbeaten, of all the teams, Oxford.
We did have this horrible thought in the back of our heads last week, though, didn't we?
Let's think positive now.
Absolutely.
Swindon Town are going to Wembley.
Yeah, exactly.
We should be thinking about that. We should be concentrating on that. We should be focusing on that. You know how when we had the great chant shortage and we got the Kentwood Choir to lift the team? It worked.
Yes.
Turned them around. When Paolo first started, it was iffy.
Yeah.
We turned them around.
Absolutely.
We can do it again.
Yeah.
I've got an idea. You know how at the county ground when Swindon win, they play Status Quo, rocking all over the world?
Oh, right, yeah.
We need to record a special version of Rockin' All Over the World for Wembley.
Really?
The thing is, we need lyrics.
Ah, right.
We can't sing the Status Quo, Rockin' All Over the World.
No.
We need some creativity here.
Right.
And that will focus our mind on Wembley instead of on the defeat to Oxford.
Where are we going to get this creativity from, then, Graham?
513366, I think. 513366. Now, you know how it goes. It goes, here we are, here we are, here we go. There's a meeting tonight for First Great Western to explain how they set their rail fares. Never mind the cost. Buying a ticket's hard enough.
Good morning and welcome to Train.
Good morning, how are you?
Using this service, you can get journey information.
Yeah, I just want to get
services between any UK station.
Yeah, okay, great.
This service responds to your voice.
Oh, does it?
Say what you want when you know.
Okay.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's get started,
Where
great. Hello?
Sorry. Okay then.
Okay then. Let's get started.
From Carlisle.
No, I don't want to go for Carlisle.
If not, press 2.
No!
Carlisle.
I don't want to go to Carlisle or from Carlisle. I don't know where you've got the idea of Carlisle from.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you want here.
I want to get a train from Swindon to London. That's all I want to do.
I'm sorry, but I'm not getting a recognisable response.
What? I'm talking English. What do you want?
To leave.
I'm good at talking. I'm paid to talk. I'm that good at talking. I'm paid to talk. Right. Swindon to London, return. Tuesday. That's what I want to do.
1 or 2?
Just the one, just me. I'm going from Swindon to London.
Thanks for your call.
What? Hello?
Want to get a quick update on the train you've just inquired about?
I haven't...
Any time before it departs.
Hello?
I'll get the information right away for you.
Hello?
Please call back on 0871...
No, I just want to buy a return to London.
49.50.
Hello?
Goodbye.
No, hello, not goodbye.
The service you called has cleared.
Thanks to Derek from Covingham, who has suggested that our version of Rockin' All Over the World, the Status Quo song that they play at the county ground when Swindon Town win, our special version that we should record for the trip to Wembley should be entitled Robins All Over the World. I like it, Derek. We have a title. A hydrogen refuelling station is opening in Swindon today. It's on the Honda site. It's a joint project between Honda, British Oxygen and Forward Swindon. Nick Rolfe is on the innovation team for British Oxygen. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Who's going to be using this filling station?
Well, this filling station here is designed to actually stimulate further development in vehicle manufacture and the use of hydrogen as a clean sort of transport fuel for the UK.
And who's going to use it?
Well, the station itself is going to be used by principally fleet operators. We're trying to sort of mimic what other activities that are going on in other parts of the globe, like in Germany.
How many hydrogen cars are there in Swindon?
There aren't any hydrogen cars in Swindon at present. But what we're targeting here is fleet operators. So it's really in a sort of B2B context this station has to be seen initially.
How many fleet-operated hydrogen cars pass through Swindon every day?
Well, as I'm describing, there aren't many fleet-operated cars in Swindon. Our objective here is sort of...
Is it none?
Benefits. It is none at present.
How many hydrogen-powered vehicles are there in the UK?
In the UK, we haven't got any sort of hydrogen-powered vehicles that are available to the consumer.
Nick Rolfe from British Oxygen, thank you. Oh, one last question. What are going to be the opening hours of this filling station?
Well, the opening hours at the moment are going to be driven by actually demand.
This one has come from Stephen Myton.
Okay.
There's some fantastic lyrics in here. We're going to be spoilt for choice. Robins all over the world. We like to play, we win away, we win at home. Paolo's here, he prefers it to Rome. Here we go. Robins all over the world. Voting starts today to select the next Labour leader. We've already heard from candidates Andy Burnham, Ed Balls and David Miliband, who all visited Swindon in recent weeks. This morning, we're joined by Ed Miliband. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Graham. Nice to be with you.
Why can't you and your brother David decide which one of you should go for the leadership?
Oh, well, like a deal between Brown and Blair, you mean, in 1994. I'm not sure that did us much good, or the country much good, in the sense that I think it would have been better if both of them had stood and sort of got that out of the way. I offer a distinctive message, which is about the need for Labour to change and move on from New Labour. I think I'm the candidate who recognises the votes we lost at the election from our working class supporters and our middle class supporters, and the need to change on some key aspects of policy, like the fact that people are stuck in low paid work, that we made a mistake on tuition fees on Iraq, for example. And I think unless we have the courage to change, which I think I'm the person that's shown that, we won't win back power.
But you can't even work things out with your own brother. How can you bring unity to the Labour Party?
Oh, I think we will have unity if I'm the leader, if anyone is the leader, whoever is the leader, after September the 25th. It's a good, clean contest. It is fraternal. I think actually the media has been struck by it's been mostly a civilized and friendly contest. But in the end, there's a fundamental disagreement, I think, about the scale of change we need. Tony Blair says we've just got to keep going with New Labour, not move a millimetre away from it. I think that's wrong, frankly. I think there are things that are right about New Labour. For example, we've got to appeal to all sections of society. But if we think that the 1990s formula will work 20 years later, I think we're mistaken.
But there'd be no New Labour if the original Labour worked.
Well, New Labour was a necessary response to Labour's defeat. But again, now that we've lost in 2010, we need to move on again. And you always have an older generation who will say, look, we've just got to stick with the way things were. But unless we change, and unless we kind of, if you like, move on from the ghosts of the past, of the 1980s, I don't think we're going to win again.
You were close to Gordon Brown. Tony Blair's described Gordon Brown as difficult at times, maddening. Is that something you recognise?
No, I think it's what happens in a marriage or a relationship that's quite rocky, which is what Tony Blair and Gordon Brown had. And to be honest, I'm much less interested in talking about the past and who said what to whom than I am in talking about the future and how Labour needs to change, to listen to people as to why we lost, to move on from the New Labour establishment in order to win again. And that's what my candidacy is about.
But if the book makes Gordon look like a goose, that's going to hurt you, though, isn't it?
I don't know what the impact this book will have, to be honest. I think most people will think we honour Tony Blair's contribution, but really we're more interested in the future of the Labour Party and what it's got to say about the future than political memoirs. And I think people are right about that.
Lord Mandelson's warned you could take the party up an electoral cul-de-sac. What's he on about?
I think that, as I say, you've got a New Labour establishment that doesn't want me to win. And I think it shows they're rattled. And I think it shows that my campaign, which is about why we need to change the political party and not remain stuck in the past, is having an effect. And it's speaking to people right up and down this country who saw some good things that New Labour did, but saw some mistakes they made. And I'm the candidate with the honesty and courage to reflect that and to understand that.
Andy Burnham, Ed Balls and your brother David Miliband have all been to Swindon during the leadership campaign. Why haven't you?
Well, I've tried to go around as many parts of the country as possible. Now that you pointed that out, I will try and come to Swindon before the end of this campaign. But it's certainly, if I'm the Labour leader, even if I'm not, I will certainly be visiting Swindon because I think it's a very, very important place to come and to be seen in.
How important is it to win back Swindon?
Oh, it's very, very important because the loss of 2 seats over time in Swindon was something that indicated the way that Labour was losing touch with people. And Swindon is a crucial battleground area, and it's something I'll be making a priority in the future.
Where is Anne Snellgrove now?
I think she's running Ed Balls' campaign, isn't she?
Does that bother you?
Not at all. I think Anne's a great colleague. And, there's no bitterness in this contest. There's just a difference of view. And as I say, I think I'm the candidate who understands the scale of change that Labour needs.
Have you seen today's Daily Mirror?
I have.
You know what it says, don't you?
Yeah, they're supporting my brother. But in the end, I think that it's voters who make the decision, not newspapers. And
did that surprise you, though? Because your politics are to the left of your brother's, and the Daily Mirror does lean that way. Wouldn't you have thought they would have supported you?
Well, they've got nice things to say about my campaign, but I think David has a long-standing relationship with the Daily Mirror, and they make their choice. But I think what's more important than what a newspaper says is what the voters say. And I think people make up their own minds. And I think people are responding to my campaign and the change that I want to bring to Labour. And in the end, that is the choice at this election, whether we have the courage to change as a political party and be honest and recognise our mistakes.
Ed Miliband, thanks for talking to me this morning on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire. Trying to stop raw sewage from seeping into your home, not the best way to spend your bank holiday weekend. If you live at Castle Door in Freshbrook, that might be what you've been doing. Natalie Slater is a spokesperson for Thames Water. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
10 gardens affected, people knee-deep in rancid water, using buckets, desperately trying to stop raw sewage flowing into their houses. 13 hours to get engineers out. This is nowhere near good enough, is it?
Something went wrong here, and for that we apologise. Basically, we're carrying out a thorough investigation to find out how and why this happened.
So you've no idea what went wrong?
We're still investigating the full circumstances as to why we took so long to get there.
People we spoke to said they kept ringing and you kept they felt as if you were fobbing them off.
We're still investigating all the circumstances surrounding this.
I follow you on Twitter. And on the 17th of August, you tweeted and you named a mobile phone company. And then you said, this mobile phone company really does have the worst customer service I've ever experienced. Is Thames Water any better?
Like I say, we do our best to make sure that we respond to people when they have problems.
Are you sorry you sent that tweet about the mobile phone company now?
This is something that happened with Thames Water.
But let's get back to the tweet that you sent about the mobile phone company about their customer service. Are you sorry you sent it now?
I think we should focus on what happened with this case.
So you're not going to answer that one?
Like I said, I think we should focus on Thames Water here and the customer service that happened. And once again, we do apologise for the delay.
Natalie Slater from Thames Water.
BBC Wiltshire.
Peter from Swindon, he's come up with some belting lyrics here. Jonathan Fido, listen to these.
Oh, go on.
Here we are and here we are and here we go, Swindon Town and Decanny, oh here we go, Robins all over the world.
That is the best one yet.
The new leader of the Labour Party, Ed Miliband, makes his key speech at the party conference in Manchester today. Harriet Harman is the party's deputy leader. She was in charge during the leadership election. She's on the line from Manchester for me now. Good morning, Harriet.
Good morning.
How can a bloke that opposed his own brother bring unity to Labour?
Well, he didn't so much as oppose his brother.
Well, he did.
No, what he did is he put himself forward in a contest, and everybody is perfectly entitled to put their hat in the ring if they've got enough support, and that's what he did. And really, Ed has got a big task now ahead of him to learn the lessons of why we lost the seats that we did in the House of Commons. I mean, it is disappointing we lost both seats in Swindon. We've got to learn the lessons of that, and that's going to be starting now with Ed's speech.
We've lost the 2 Labour seats. They're now Conservative. We've got a Conservative-controlled council. The Conservative council in Swindon has removed all the speed cameras. What's your view on that?
Well, I worry about that because I think that it will cost injuries and will cost lives. I mean, all the evidence is that high speed is dangerous for pedestrians, and I think it's a mistake. But
so speeding is wrong.
They'll see the error.
In 2003, you were fined £400 and banned for 7 days after being caught doing 99 miles an hour on the M4 in Wiltshire.
I have learned my lesson from that, and I am absolutely fixed on the speedometer now, and I very much regretted that, and I accepted I was wrong, apologised, pleaded guilty, and I've not speeded since, nor will I.
Harriet Harman, have a good conference and enjoy the new bloke's speech.
Thank you.
OK, Annika, let's have a go at it. What's it sound like?
Right, well, come on, everybody, follow Swindon Town. We're going on a trip, and we're Wembley bound. Here we go.
Robins all over the world. Yeah. I like it. In fact, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it. Hey, we're onto something here, aren't we?
Yeah.
The Labour leader, Ed Miliband, will make his keynote speech at the party's annual conference in Liverpool today. It's a year since he took over, following Gordon Brown's resignation. Harriet Harman was the acting leader in between. She joins me from the conference now. Good morning, Harriet.
Good morning.
Who are you sitting next to this year during the keynote speech from the leader?
Well, I'm sure I'll be sitting with my colleagues in the shadow cabinet.
Well, you had a bad seat last year, didn't you? You were sat right next to Ed's brother David, and when Ed criticised the Iraq war, his brother said to you, you voted for it, why are you clapping? You're going to be careful about what you clap about this year?
Well, I will definitely be supporting Ed Miliband for what he's saying. I think that it's difficult times for people, and he's speaking up for their concerns. And I noticed that actually when it came to voting, people voting in the election in May earlier this year, actually there was a swing towards Labour and away from the Conservatives and away from the Lib Dems. So when it came to actually voting, I think people did, when they came into the ballot box, they did support Labour more than they'd supported us previously, and more than they were supporting the Tories and the Lib Dems.
Well, you were campaigning then. You even came to Swindon in April, but it didn't help. We've still got a Conservative council, and we've still got 2 Conservative MPs. Why is that?
Well, we did gain seats in the local elections, and we think we're making progress.
You described Gordon Brown as hopeless. Is Ed Miliband worse because he's not doing very well in the opinion polls?
I didn't. I think that with a really difficult global financial crisis, I think that the work that Gordon Brown did with other leaders around the world to stop the banks falling over, it could have been immeasurably worse. But I think that this government's mistake is to say that we're out of the woods, we're out of the danger zone, and that we're a safe haven, and to think that they can just let things fend for themselves, and to really cut the economy and choke the life out of the economy. And I think that that's what's gone wrong. And I never said Gordon Brown was hopeless.
Not at the New Year's Eve party?
No.
OK, the Times reported that you did.
Oh.
Harriet Harman, live from the Labour Party conference. Thanks very much. You're not talking to me on a handheld mobile phone while you're driving, are you?
No, I've mended my ways. Never again.
All right. Well, you pleaded guilty anyway to driving without due care and attention.
I'm reformed, though. I'm a reformed motoring offender now.
I'm glad to hear it. Harriet Harman, thanks for your time this morning.
Mack Breakfast Show.
The Pope arrives in the UK this morning. Keith Porteous-Wood is Executive Director of the National Secular Society, which is publicising a campaign called Protest the Pope.
Good morning.
What have you got against the Pope?
We don't believe that he should have been invited by the government in an official state visit because of his regressive social policies and because of his appalling treatment of child abuse in his church.
Your organisation is the National Secular Society. How many members have you got?
We've got, I think, the views that we are expressing at the moment by the polls that have come out in the last 2 or 3 days are the majority views of the country. And there are
how many members has the National Secular Society got?
The point is the message that we're giving. We're a pressure group. And
that's not what I asked you. I asked you how many members.
I heard what you asked.
Well, then answer the question.
The point is that it's much more important the views on the moral teachings of the church are only shared by a very small proportion of Catholics, 5% on contraception, and the harm that does for poverty and
I'm not
AIDS
sure
deaths.
why asking that question has made you so angry, but I'm going to ask you again because it's clearly an important question. How many members does the National Secular Society have?
It's not relevant to the message that we're giving.
I was just wondering how big your organisation is.
We're a whole group of organisations involved in protest the Pope.
Is it more or less than 20?
That's just a silly point. I just don't want to engage with that. So I just can't understand.
And I don't understand why you won't answer what should be a simple question. You've got an organisation. I heard you had 12 members. Is that true?
I'm not even going to answer that rather silly question.
OK, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. It's 8:11, and you are now part of a massive radio experiment. Can we bring back the sound of Swindon, the old railway works hooter? Any stereo you've got that you can tune into 103.6, open all the doors and all the windows, turn it up loud as it will go without distorting, so that the sound of the old railway works hooter makes it to every part of Swindon, and we bring it back louder and prouder than ever. A 20,000 watt sound system is at the outlet village where the old railway works were. Standing by there is BBC Wiltshire's Annie Weston.
It's been 25 years since it sounded, and I've got some retired railway workers with me now. Roger Hayes, of course, who we've spoken to before. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning.
How do you feel that this moment is nearly here?
I think we're very, very fortunate to get it blowing again.
We've had to stand back about 50 metres, all in all, and are we ready to hear the sound go? You ready, guys?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! What do you make of that?
Brilliant. That was brilliant, that was.
Took it back a bit.
Great. That brought it back.
Roger?
The ground was trembling. I've never known that before. But it seemed to me as if it was about equal to the sound when the real hooter blew.
Good. That's what we're looking for. Accuracy.
Annie Weston, thank you very much. So special as well. So now we're looking for your report. How far did it go? Did we get it to every part of Swindon? Was it as loud as the original? Derek in Coveringham, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you hear it?
I definitely could. And what's more, I didn't even have my hearing aids in.
It must have been loud, Derek.
It was pretty good, I'll tell you. It certainly brought back a lot of memories.
It did the trick.
Of course it did, yeah. In fact, the first thing I did was look at my watch to see if I was late.
Derek, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for doing it.
No worries at all. My pleasure. If you'd like to call in and give me a report of where you could hear the hooter this morning, give me a call. You know that number, 513366. 890 houses could be built next to Cote Water. Plans were lodged with the council on Christmas Eve. A 21-day consultation to the revised plans opened yesterday. The council will decide in the next few months. Joining me now is Councillor Peter Greenhalgh from Swindon Borough Council. Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning, Graham.
Are you in favour of the current development plans?
I think it's the best proposal that's been received so far.
In August 2009, when the original proposal was dismissed on appeal by the Secretary of State, you said, "This decision is great news. We were determined to fight this proposal as hard as we could, and I'm very pleased that the Minister has agreed with our position." You also said that it would be disastrous for Cote.
Yeah.
Do you still think that?
I think that the planning submission that I was referring to would have been disastrous for Cote.
So you can understand how people thought you were against any development on that piece of land.
I can understand that the way the media is reporting this is confusing.
Well, we're only reporting what you're saying. I mean, that's what you said. Since you made those comments, which to some people sounded like you were opposed to a housing development near Coat Water, the new homes bonus scheme's been announced by the government. Swindon Borough Council will get thousands of pounds every year for the next 6 years for every new home built. Has that had any influence on this?
None whatsoever.
52,000 people signed a petition to protect a kilometre of countryside around Coat Water. What have you got to say to those 52,000 people?
I think it's excellent that people take an interest in their local area, and I would fully support anyone who wishes to challenge any application that is submitted.
Do you think that the current proposal should go through?
I think the current proposal is the best proposal that has been submitted for the area around the hospital site, and it's up to the planning committee to determine whether or not this application should succeed.
So you think 890 homes should be built next to Coat Water?
That isn't what I said, Graham.
What are you saying? Get off the fence, councillor. What are you saying? Is it good or bad?
I'm not sitting on the fence. I think this is the best proposal that has been submitted for this area.
OK, thank you very much for talking to me this morning.
Thank you.
Councillor Peter Greenhalgh, who's always interesting to talk to.
That's your sport.
Thanks for that, Chris. Let's quickly look ahead to Wembley now, because whenever the Robins win the county ground, they play Rockin' All Over the World by Status Quo. So we need to come up with our own version of it in time for Wembley.
OK.
Hi to Sue from Purton, who says, loving your show every morning, can't wait to hear the completed song. Well, I want to get the lyrics done today. I want to get them recorded tonight.
Right.
Sue says she's looking forward to seeing the Graham Mack Rock Band perform at the Village Hall in Purton on Saturday night. Well, I'll see you then,
So are
Sue.
the Graham Mack Rock Band going to have the song ready to go?
I hope so.
Right, OK.
I hope so. Right
this
now
is going to be a quick turnaround.
Right now we've got no lyrics, and I've never even attempted to play it.
But so the band don't already play Rockin' All Over?
No, we don't.
Right, OK.
No, we don't. But Gavin has put together a backing track, which I can play you now, and I'm going to try and put Sue's lyrics to it to see what you think.
Sue's done some lyrics,
Yeah,
has
yeah.
she?
So here we go.
Fantastic, OK.
Well, here we are, and here we are, and here we go. We're off to Wembley with the Canio. Here we go. Robins all over the world.
That's very good.
It's got potential, hasn't it?
I think so.
I like the opening because she's combined the bit that Pete from Swindon did that. We're going to call the song Robins All Over the World.
Yeah.
I want to get the full lyrics to the full song this morning done by 9 o'clock. Give me a call with yours on 513366. Jackie's in Liddington. Did you hear it this morning?
Oh, we certainly did. We heard it about 3 seconds after we heard it on the radio, funnily enough.
So it's like thunder. You see the flash and then...
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. It was quite emotional.
And it is a big deal for you, isn't it, the Hooter?
It is. I was born to the sound of the evening Hooter. Yeah.
Maybe this morning you'll be reborn.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show.
Olivia, what do I need to know about this school?
We do literacy,
What's literacy? Is that like reading?
writing.
Arithmetic?
What's that?
That's the 3 R's. Reading.
that?
The 3 R's. Reading, writing and arithmetic.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey? Hang on a sec. Alfie, what's the problem here?
Writing is a W.
Writing?
Is a W. Yes, W.
But it's known as the 3 R's.
No, because writing is W.
Yeah, I know writing's W. I know how to spell.
No.
Yeah, but it's known as the 3 R's.
Yeah, but if writing doesn't begin with R, it can't begin with it in a different word.
No, but it's known as the 3 R's.
But it's
right?
an unknown word.
No, it's the word. It's not. It's a known word. The word is writing.
No,
It's one of the R's.
No one's ever...
It's the second R. Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Why is it the second R when it starts with a W? Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't make this up. It's reading, writing, and
Fake.
Hey?
Fake.
But you don't.
It's a fake fake word. It was made up.
It's a real word. The word
It
is
doesn't
right.
make sense. It's wrong.
It makes sense. It's the 3 R's. It's. Of course, I went to school. They're saying that we need to get back to teaching kids the 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Did you do numeracy at your school?
No, we did arithmetic.
Which isn't
One of the 3 R's.
Yeah, which isn't even a word.
It is.
Isn't
Arithmetic. Arithmetic. Hang on. What's that?
If you had writing, it would be your right hand, because writing, when you write with a pencil, begins with a W.
Yeah, except when it's in the 3 R's. Then it's reading, writing, arithmetic. No, that's how it works.
Writing, if it starts with an R, it's like you've got your right and your ing. It doesn't make sense.
I didn't. Don't blame them. Don't shoot the messenger here. I didn't come up with this. No, I never made it up. It's a well-known thing. The 3 R's.
Yeah, but if you don't know who made it up, then who made it up? It must
guessing,
be you.
I'm guessing Scooby-Doo. Chrissy from Marsden Maisie, could you hear it?
Very faintly, but I could definitely hear it.
So how far away do you think you were from, say, the outlet centre?
From the top of Blunsdon, we're about 8.
Yes.
So it must be to the centre, I would think about 10.
About 10 miles?
Yeah.
Now, they were saying it used to travel 12. This is pretty close.
Right.
It's not just the 20,000 watts. It's everybody who had their radios and their own little public address systems all turned up loud.
Well, I went out into the garden to listen.
Fantastic.
I mean, I've been listening to you all the way through, thinking, come on, get it going, get it going.
Well, I've just had confirmation, 11.5 miles. So that's really close to the 12 that historian Scylla Slipper said it used to carry. So I'm pretty sure it would have carried for about another half a mile after that. But you got it. Okay. Can you tell the difference between Swindon and Delhi? I've been out with photos. So we're in Swindon Town Centre. What's your name?
Mary.
Where are you from, Mary?
Cricklade.
Okay, well, I've got some photographs to show you. Now, these photographs are either of building work in Swindon Town Centre or the unfinished athletes' village at the Delhi Commonwealth Games. Do you think you'd be able to tell the difference?
Should be able to.
Okay,
yes.
Well, let's try. Let's see. So here's photograph number 1. Is that Swindon or Delhi?
That's Swindon.
Where do you know where it is?
That's down the bottom there.
It's actually over there. It's the college building. Here comes photograph number 2. Now, as you can see, you can just describe what you can see in the photo there.
Unfinished pavements, cars, rubble, pipes, and I think that's Swindon.
You think that's Swindon? You're right again. You're right again. Well, you're good at this game. Okay, let's try this one. What do you got in that one, and what do you think it is?
A wall that looks as though it's not completed. Now that could be Delhi.
No, that's Swindon as well. Hi there, what's your name?
Philip.
Philip, where are you from?
Old Town in Swindon.
From Old Town? Yeah, and you've come down to Newtown here. What do you think of the town centre and all the work that's going on here?
This is a terrible mess, isn't it, at the moment?
You think so?
Yes.
Okay, I've got some pictures here, and they're either of the incomplete athletes' village in Delhi or Swindon Town Centre.
Yes.
All you have to do is guess which pictures are Delhi and which are Swindon.
I see, yes.
Ready to play?
Yes, indeed.
Here we go. Here comes the first one. Where's that?
I can't think of Swindon. I can't think of anywhere it could be.
So you're going to go with?
Delhi.
You're going to go with Delhi? That is Swindon. That's the actual the old college building just up the corner.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes, so it is.
Okay, not off to a very good start, but it's still early yet. Let's see this picture. Just explain to me what you can see in the picture first.
Oh, lots of. It looks as if it's this pathway in the middle here, but going down the middle of Swindon's Newtown. That's Swindon.
You're going to say Swindon? That one is Swindon, yes. You can tell the difference between that one and Delhi. Okay, let me try you with this one. What can you see in that one?
Well, I think that's Delhi, because I think it's like the picture I saw on television the other day.
It's actually Swindon Town Centre. It's the new building they're trying to build up there. Hello there. What's your name?
Prakash.
Prakash, where are you from?
India.
India? You're from India?
Yeah.
Brilliant. You're the first person from India. And what are you doing in Swindon?
Swindon, I'm working.
You're working? What do you do?
Royal Mail.
So you're postie?
Yeah.
Okay. This picture here, is that Delhi or Swindon?
Swindon.
Okay, let's try you with this one. Is
very
that
clean? The work is fast. And there is no fast work. That's a problem. The Commonwealth. You know.
So, is that one Delhi or Swindon?
I think Delhi. No, Swindon.
Oh, you nearly went with Delhi. You say it with Swindon.
Swindon.
It is Swindon. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Let's try this one here. This one here. Is that Delhi or Swindon? What do you got in the picture there first?
I think Delhi.
You got a wall there, some scaffolding?
Yes, Delhi.
You're going to go with Delhi?
Delhi.
Certain?
Yeah, sure.
That's Swindon.
Swindon?
It's just down the road there. It's the VHS
I
I'm going to combine a couple here over the backing track that Gavin's made me. This first one is from Kevin Joins Creed. That's the first verse. The second verse you hear is from an anonymous caller that we've had to the show. Here's Kevin's. I tell you, baby, what we're gonna do. Gonna beat Chesterfield and we'll beat them by 2. Here we go. Robins all over the world. That was Kevin Joins Creed. Here's anonymous man. We'll wave our scarves in red and white. Shout, come on, Reds, with all of our might. Here we go. We're watching all over the world. Now, this anonymous one, although it's that line needs to be Robins all over the world, it's given me an idea. Because up until now we've been kind of just throwing stuff at this song and seeing what sticks, and we've had some good lyrics. Yeah, we've had some good lyrics. However, we need a bit of something to focus our minds on. Now, in this anonymous caller's thing, he says "watching all over the world." Now, the title of the song is "Robins all over the world," but that's where the inspiration. Let's make the song about all the Swindon fans, the Robins fans, who are all over the world. So here's my idea. We get the lyrics to talk about all the different places that people could be Swindon fans around the world.
And there are some out there as well.
There are a lot.
To BBC Wiltshire at the weekend.
There are a lot. Now, if we made the song about that, Robins all over the world, just how big a deal this is, here's my other idea, and this is where maybe, I like to throw ideas at the production team on this show. This is the one that they'll hate me for. But how about this?
Is that because they've got an hour and 10 minutes to sort this out?
Well, I want them to get this. No, if I can get the lyrics sorted out by 9 o'clock, this other bit, which I think is going to make it, is if we call people who are Swindon fans all over the world and record a quick message from them, and then layer that over the song at the end. So we do like, say, 3 verses and a chorus, or 2 verses and a chorus of the song, and then the rest of it we just play instrumental, and then we just play all these. Hi, this is Brian in Sydney, Australia. Come on, Swindon. Hi, this is Janet in Singapore. Come on, you Reds. Just everybody would there. Just fantastic. Quick messages like that, all back to back to back to back. Wouldn't it be great?
It would be brilliant. Wouldn't it?
There are Robins all over the world. You see what I'm doing here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The production team are going to love you, by the way.
I know they are.
What I do is, as soon as you get off at 9 o'clock today, I'd get producer Richard, sit him down and say, look, you've got a very busy weekend in store, I'm afraid. Cancel all your plans. You're working Saturday and Sunday relentlessly to get everything together.
But to help him out and to help us out, if you've got a relative who is a Swindon fan, will not be able to go to Wembley, or won't even be in Swindon on the day.
But even if they are going to Wembley, if they're from Australia
and they're coming over,
for example, get them involved.
So if you know someone who is a Robins fan all over the world, send me a BBC mail, which is graham.mack@bbc.co.uk with their phone number. We'll call them up and we'll pay for the phone call. There you go. Right now I've annoyed the accountants. Right, anyway, so
you could make Richard use his mobile.
Exactly. Right, so send me, or you can phone me, and all we need is their phone number, and we'll ring them up, and it'll just be a quick message, their name, where they are, or they could text 81333. Start your message with Swindon, 81333. I just need their name and where they are and their phone number, and also let them know what we're doing, because you don't want to get a phone call out of the blue going, you're from where? Yeah, right, okay, thanks. If we could get as many Swindon fans from around the world on this song, all back to back to back. Now, so we've got that to work on, but this morning the goal is to write the lyrics that fit that. There are Robins all over the world.
And then we can just stick the voices in across the song.
The lyrics need to be about there being Robins all over the world. So, if you can help me out, you know how to get in touch, and that number as well. If you don't, 513366. That's Swindon, 513366. Thanks, Chris.
Morning.
My name's Mike. I've got the flower store in town in Swindon, Regent Street.
What do you think about all the building work going on here?
I think it's absolute chaos, to be honest. I mean, there's no walkways, doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. And the last few months I've been looking and nothing's really changed. It's the same.
If I was to show you some photographs that were either taken in Swindon Town Centre or of construction work of the incomplete athletes' village in Delhi for the Commonwealth Games, do you think you could tell the difference?
Not really, no, I'll tell you. Apart from the weather, that'll probably be about it.
Well, they've had monsoons there, so...
It's just as bad here, I suppose, but yeah, I don't see much comparison.
Let's try. Here comes photograph number 1. Is that Swindon or Delhi?
I'll go Delhi.
You go Delhi? That's actually the college building in Swindon.
Oh, there you go.
See? OK, let's go with photograph number 2. What can you see in that photo?
A lot of paving work and no workers. Precise. Just a mess.
Now, is that Swindon or Delhi?
I'm going Swindon.
That is Swindon. Well done. You got that one right. OK, let's try this one. What's in that picture there?
A lot of scaffold, a bit of boarding up. Chaos, really.
Swindon or Delhi?
I'm going Delhi.
That's actually Swindon.
Oh, is it?
It's actually just down there.
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show
on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
More illegal and counterfeit cigarettes and tobacco are being sold in Swindon. That's according to trading standards. Illegal cigarettes are ones that have been smuggled in without duty being paid. Counterfeits are fake ones. Paul Stockhall is communications manager at the Tobacco Manufacturers Association. Good morning, Paul.
Hello, good morning.
What have you got against people saving a few, Bob?
Basically, in terms of sort of illicit products, counterfeit products, they're unregulated, they're untaxed, and they're often made in very unhygienic conditions.
That sounds a bit rich coming from a bloke who represents an industry that sells a product that's been killing people for years.
We accept that there are health risks associated with smoking, but...
That's kind of an understatement, isn't it? According to the World Health Organisation, tobacco kills 5.4 million people a year.
The government loses up to £3.1 billion per annum in tax revenue, and it's been losing revenue such as that for the number of years, and it's in the interest of government to reduce that. And if they're intending to reduce smoking, then obviously they have to address the levels of illicit trade.
The illicit trade is there because tobacco is so expensive. It's so expensive because of all the tax and duty on it. Would you like to see the tax and duty reduced?
Yes, but I think we're sort of realistic about this. Economic conditions are such that the government needs to raise revenue.
They also need to discourage people from smoking, which is one of the reasons they give for having the tax and the duty so high.
When you have a pack of cigarettes in the UK costing about just over £7 and £3.20 in Spain, there is a massive price differential, and it's really the governments should be taking a more, should we say, a more sensible approach to tax rates to stop people buying product from overseas.
But wouldn't that encourage more people to smoke in the UK?
Not necessarily.
It doesn't seem right, though, that our tax money is being used to help an industry that really isn't making people any healthier and is actually killing people every year.
The tax money is being used to stop people smuggle tobacco. £3.1 billion is lost per annum.
But why do you care what the government loses? You represent the tobacco industry. You must be more bothered about the losses to your profits. Someone is killed by smoking every 6.5 seconds. 37 people have died while we've been talking.
As I say, I understand. I know the health risks associated with smoking.
Do you smoke, Paul?
I used to.
Paul Stockwell from the Tobacco Manufacturers Association. Thanks for your time this morning. Amanda Broomhall from Penn Hill is in the middle of her 6th surrogate pregnancy. She's just had her 13-week scan. Amanda is here with me this morning. Good morning, Amanda.
Morning.
13-week scan. Now, that's the one that's checking for Downs.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
You've not heard anything? No news, good news?
No news, good news. They would ring me by last Friday if I was a high risk, so I'm a low risk.
If the scan has showed up definite for Downs, what would happen then?
I talked to the parents about it. The ultimate decision would be theirs.
And if their decision was to terminate, you would terminate the pregnancy?
Yes. At this point, I would, yes.
Half of that baby you're carrying is you.
Yeah, it is, yes. At this point, I would, without hesitation, follow through the wishes of the parents.
This is your 6th surrogate pregnancy. Have you ever terminated one?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because the parents changed their mind.
There was no medical problem?
No.
And how were you with that decision?
It was awful, but what could I do? You know, they didn't want the child.
Why do you do this?
Because I can. I think that it's one thing I can do, so I'll do it.
Who chooses the parents?
I offer to help. They don't ask. That's not how it's done. They don't walk up and say, we want you to help us. I offer to help, and I always think that you should get to know somebody before you make that offer, because any relationship between a surrogate parent and the two intended parents should be based on friendship, because 9 months is a really long time to work with someone you don't like.
So you decide whether they're going to be good parents. It's down to you.
Yeah.
No one else.
No. If I don't gel with them or click with them, then I'm not the right person to help them.
Tell me about these people.
Okay.
Where'd they live?
East Anglia.
East Anglia. Professional people?
Both working, yeah. They haven't got high-paid jobs, but they're both in stable, long-term employment, yeah.
Do they own their own home?
Nope.
But they live in council accommodation?
Yep.
And you're cool with a kid being brought up into an environment where, who knows, if one of them lost their job, they might find it a little bit tough for a while? You have to make those, but you have to make those.
They're normal
what I'm getting
people.
Is you have to make those moral decisions on their behalf.
And it's a lot for me to make the decision on. But those decisions you've just said could happen to anybody. They could be the richest people in the country, but if they lost all that money, they'd have the same problems as the rest of us do, you know. And I always say, just because they live in a council house doesn't mean they're bad people, and all the money in the world won't buy you the skills you need to be a good parent.
Thank you for letting us follow this.
That's all right.
Because I still don't know where I am with it.
Well, the reason I'm letting you follow me is because the parents want a record, and at the end, your researcher has agreed to put it on a CD to give to them, so they've got a record of their child being brought into the world. And that's very special, and you can't put a price on that.
Amanda Broomhall from Penhill, thanks for your time this morning. The hosepipe ban is being lifted in Swindon tomorrow. Yes, it turns out Thames Water have got a window, and they've noticed it's been raining ever since the hosepipe ban came in. Simon Evans is Media Relations Manager at Thames Water. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, how you doing?
Has the hosepipe ban actually saved any water, considering who would want to use a hosepipe in the rain anyway?
There has been a few hot spells. For example, in May, when we had a really sort of Saharan stretch of weather, we were actually
Saharan is pushing it a bit, though, isn't it?
Well, it was sunny. Let's just leave it at that. But during that period, that hot spell, we were saving, thanks to people complying with the hosepipe ban, 100 million litres a day.
You wouldn't have to save so much water if a quarter of the water you dealt with wasn't leaking away, though.
We would.
That's a pretty disgraceful figure, isn't it?
It is an awful lot of water, but I would disagree that it's disgraceful. I would say that actually, if you look back to when leakage was,
it could fill Wembley Stadium every 36 hours.
No, we haven't solved the problem, but we've made a very good start tackling it.
You've also given £500,000 to your chief exec as a bonus, haven't you?
Look, I'm not here to talk about the individual remuneration packages of any individual. We are a FTSE 100 sized company. We need good people to run it, and we've got to pay accordingly. But if you look at an article in The Guardian yesterday, you'll find that there are a lot of other chief executives of big companies who get paid vastly more than our chief exec does. It's actually quite small by comparison.
But those companies didn't ban their customers from using the product that they're actually paying to get.
No, and that is an absolutely fair point. But, given the circumstances at the beginning of April, imposing a hosepipe ban after we'd had the 2 driest years ever, we didn't know how long it was going to stay dry, and actually that was the responsible and the right thing to do at the time. Since then, we've had a game-changing amount of rain, and so we're now in a position to lift the ban, and we're really glad that we can do that.
All right, well, we've been saving water. Now,
we certainly appreciate that.
Well, if people who are on a water meter, they're going to make considerable savings. What about the people who aren't on a water meter? Are you going to give them a refund?
No, I'm afraid we can't do that, but actually...
Oh, that's a shame. Why not?
The benefit for people who are not on meters is that you need to remember that about a third of all the electricity or energy bills that the average household spends goes on heating water up. So the less water we all use, the less money will be spent heating that water up, and the less our bills will be for energy. So
I don't know anyone that's heated water up before they've squirted it onto the lawn.
Well, certainly that doesn't apply to watering your garden, but we encourage people...
Well, that's where we've made the savings through the hosepipe, man.
All right, fine, but we have been encouraging our customers...
Who puts hot water on the garden?
Who puts hot water... Well, no, we've established that doesn't happen. OK,
you were saying the people who've saved the water through the hosepipe ban can't have a refund, but they will be saving money because they're not heating the water up.
We've encouraged people as well as...
Simon Evans, I'm sorry we're out of time.
A passion for Swindon life.
BBC Wiltshire.
Our series this week, Living Longer. This morning we're talking about inspiring older people. Yesterday I spoke to former MP Tony Benn. I started by asking him what his secret was to a long, happy life in old age.
Depends on a lot of things. First of all, good health. Health is of enormous importance. Then, of course, you've got to have an income, decent income when you're at work and a decent pension when you retire. And then you've got the need for care because, obviously, as more people live to a greater age, they will need care and help. And the idea of a national care service, like the National Health Service, is one that has occurred to me in the past. And all if those things are available, then I don't see any reason why people shouldn't carry on doing such work as they want to do for as long as they want to.
When you were a younger man, was there someone from an older generation who inspired you?
Well, my father was really the same age as a grandfather would be. I think he was 50-odd when I was born, so I have always had the experience of an older man at home. And then my mother was a very loving woman. She was a bit younger than he was. And I do think that encouragement is the key to everything. When you encourage somebody, they walk 10 feet tall and do 10 times better. And I'm not in favour of all the league tables where you say a lot of people have failed and then you've got a few people who succeeded who wave at you from the platform. I think everyone is a genius and education should bring the genius out in everyone.
You ever going to stop working, Tony?
Well, not really, no. I mean, if I were incapacitated, I suppose I would be stuck in bed. I can't say I'm very worried about death. My grandmother, a Scots lady, when she was very old and ill, and I was a little boy of 8, I sat by her bed and I was afraid she was going to die. And she sat up and she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "The great thing about your last journey is you don't have to pack." and somehow that's just about sums it up.
Well, there are a lot of changes afoot, a lot announced this week in the work and pension system. State pension age going to be raised. The default retirement age looks set to be abolished next year. As a pensioner yourself, is this going to help?
People come up with schemes and advocate them, and in the end, everything comes out in the wash. But the idea of the abolition of the retirement age I find inconceivable, though a lot of people do like carrying on work and should be encouraged if they want to do so. And as to changes in the benefit system, well, we'll wait and see. It may be that's just a way of cutting income. I'm not sure it's really about what it's said to be about.
Tony Benn, thanks for talking to me this morning. I hope you have continued good health.
Thank you very much, and the same to you and your listeners.
What have potholes and custard got in common? Well, you'll find out soon. Back in the middle of July, Swindon Borough Council promised to fix all the winter potholes by mid-August. Here's what Jackie Moyles from the council's Street Smart team told me 2 months ago.
We visited 65% of the streets in Swindon, the residential streets, and we fix the potholes as we find them.
And you'll have 100% of the potholes fixed by when?
We're the next 3 to 4 weeks we should hope.
So in 4 weeks' time, there'll be no potholes in Swindon?
There may well be new potholes, I'm afraid. I mean, that's part
But none of the old ones?
But the old ones should have gone.
Well, 4 weeks later, the old ones were still there. It didn't happen. And a month later, in the August, Councillor Keith Williams came into the studio.
The current potholes, within a month, those potholes will be fixed.
Will you come back in a month?
I will come back in a month.
Right, it's a deal.
To that.
Right, now we're talking. True to his word, 2 weeks ago, Councillor Williams, a month on from that chat, came back into the studio. This is what happened then. Keith Williams, do we have all of those potholes fixed yet?
As of the end of August, I'm very pleased to say all those potholes from last winter are fixed.
Now that's good news.
Thank you.
How about this then for a challenge? Would you drive with a bowl of custard on your lap along any Swindon road that anyone wants to nominate this morning?
I think I probably would.
You would?
I would.
Okay. We got someone on the phone. Lynn from Rodbourne, good morning.
Morning.
Do you want to talk about potholes?
Oh, I was fed up with talking about potholes. We had one outside our house for nearly 2 years. Got in touch and they were down the next morning to fix it. They haven't touched the rest of the road. It still ruins the cars, doesn't it?
What road's this, Lynn?
Redcliffe Street.
Okay, so that's the road you're going to be driving down, Keith. Bowl of custard. You happy to do that? You happy to do that? That's the road?
Are you happy to hold the bowl for me, Lynn?
Yes, I'll hold the bowl.
Right, that's it. Right, we'll get that set up. Thank you very much, Lynn, and thank you very much, Keith, because now we really are going to find out, aren't we? So, last week, I headed down to Redcliffe Street, along with Councillor Keith Williams and Lynn from Rodbourne, and our adjudicator, producer, Richard Crowley.
This is Councillor Keith Williams. This is Lynn.
Spoke on the radio. Good morning.
Lynn from Rodbourne, as we call you on the radio.
It's me.
Lynn from Rodbourne, so what do you think?
Well, the road's terrible.
Councillor, are you confident we can drive along this road without spilling any custard?
Well, I'm here this morning, so what does that say? I will say, Lynn, that this road is one of the worst roads we do have in Swindon, and that has actually been recognised. And what we're actually planning to do this year, this is completely unrelated with me being here today. This road is actually due to be resurfaced, parts of it, this year. Because as a result of the winter
damage... It's just a coincidence, yeah?
That is absolutely a coincidence, honestly. Honest to truth, yeah. It's actually... partly because of the damage last year, and because we've got quite large areas where there is damage, it's not really suitable for actually putting pothole repairs in. So there's actually an area of resurfacing being done here later on this year.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it.
If you can't trust a politician, who can you trust?
Ooh. No, don't start me on that, please.
So, the introductions are out of the way. Still to come this morning, we'll check the consistency of the custard and drive along Redcliffe Street. Find out if any of the custard spills on Councillor Keith Williams' lap this morning on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire. David Cameron was pledging to sort out the dispute over whether prisoners should be given the vote after MPs came out firmly against the idea. Chris Bath is from Swindon and is the Director of Projects at Unlock, the National Association of Reformed Offenders. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Why should prisoners get the vote?
Well, there's a few different areas. One is the legal one, where the UK is currently breaking the law under the European Court of Human Rights.
All of the prisoners broke the law.
That's correct, and we don't like them breaking the law, which is why we sent them to prison, and that's why breaking the law is a bad thing, and that's why the fact that we're breaking the law now is an argument against what we're doing currently. Secondly is the moral side of it is, yes, as the local MP says, you go to prison, you lose your liberty, but you don't actually lose your citizenship, and there's a whole range of other rights that you also don't lose, and if we were ever in a situation where prisoners lost all their rights, we'd have a very, very dangerous circumstance indeed.
The prisoners' victims lost plenty of rights. Some of them even lost their lives.
Well, of course, they didn't lose their rights. They were offended against.
The ones who died did. The ones that were murdered did.
Well,
they lost everything.
Which is why we send people to prison. Yes, that's correct. That's why we send people to prison.
I'm just confused. You think that it's important to protect the rights of the prisoners. What about the rights of the victims and their families? Are they not as important as the rights of the prisoners? And why is the right to vote such a big deal?
Victims' rights are absolutely crucially important, and what we want to do is see fewer victims. In fact, what we want to see is no more victims.
And how will giving the prisoners the vote do that?
Because if you spend time in prisons, if you talk to people who are in prison, you start to realise that actually, in the most part, these are people at the very margins of society who aren't integrated, who aren't part of our society, and the things we want them to do, like get a job, get a house, have a stable relationship, etc., etc., that's all about being included in society. And the vote is absolutely an indication of here's your place in society.
So if you give the prisoners the vote, you'll reduce the chance of them reoffending?
It's one element in a very broad set of issues.
Have you got any evidence to back that up?
My evidence is talking to people in prison about their lives, their experiences, and how important it is to them.
In other countries in Europe where the prisoners get the vote, has it reduced reoffending?
That's an excellent question. I would be making it up if I gave you an answer to that, because I haven't looked at that.
Well, maybe you should have a look at that and give me a call back. Thanks for that. That's Chris Bath. He's from Unlock, the National Association of Reformed Offenders. So last week, I headed down to Redcliffe Street, along with Councillor Williams, Anne Lynn from Rodbourne, and our adjudicator, producer Richard Crowley. Here's what happened when we drove down the road.
It's the top half, from here to the post box.
So from here to the post box, that'll do me. So the post box is the end of the test?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay, I love your confidence.
I've got a bowl of custard in my lap. Bring it on.
Okay, the bowl of custard is between the councillor's legs right now. Okay, hands on head for the entire test. He's putting his hands on his head. We've got Richard Crowley here, the official adjudicator, and the official witness is Lynn from Rodbourne. Okay, so here we go. We're engaging first gear, and we're about to set off. I'm just going to let that rover go. Okay, here we go. Let's see. And Richard, you're going to have to keep your eye on the custard because I have to keep my eye on the road. How does it look?
It's looking good at the moment. It's wobbling.
We're only doing 10 miles an hour though.
It's wobbling a little bit.
Really get closer to the legal speed than I would have thought.
Keep in.
So keep in. Are you saying, Lynn? In right here? Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit bumpy here.
It's a bit bumpy here.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Still doing less than 20 miles an hour though, so
not too fast, I think because you can't go fast.
You can't go fast down here. Okay,
that's the worst bit there.
Which is the worst bit? That bit there?
Yeah.
We get to the post box and we stop here. Oh! The custard has just made it over the edge of the bowl, but the councillor doesn't have any on him. He has none on him. He's true to his word. He has proved that the potholes in Swindon are in such a condition you can drive down any street in Swindon with a bowl of custard on your lap and you'll be fine.
Please don't invite me back on your show, Graham.
Lynn, are you going to shut up whinging about this road now?
No.
An emergency stop at the end.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show
on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
The cost of insuring your car's going up. It's because there's been so many claims for whiplash. That's what it says in a new report from a group of MPs. Malcolm Tarling is from the Association of British Insurers. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning.
Well, it turns out insurers have been selling their customers' personal details to ambulance-chasing lawyers for up to £1,000 a time. That's caused a rise in claims, so the insurance companies put the premiums up. Now they're 40% higher than a year ago. Car insurance. It's a racket, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong in this. It is perfectly legal. Not all insurance companies do it. It's an insidious practice that needs to be banned across the board.
You're telling me selling people's personal details without their permission isn't a breach of the Data Protection Act?
It's not a question of selling people's details without permission. Insurers, of course, will always fully comply with data protection. There is no.
But they have been doing it. They have been selling people's details.
Well, some insurance companies do receive an income in this way. Why do they do it? They do it because it's one way at the moment of keeping their income up at a time when they are facing an unprecedented rise in claims, personal injury claims.
Yeah, but one is feeding the other. The claims are going up because people are getting messages and phone calls saying, why don't you claim for an accident you had 3 years ago? And people don't even know how they got hold of their number. That's why the claims are going up.
Yes, and I think that's become increasingly apparent in recent years, which is why, and let me reiterate this, we want to see this practice banned across the board.
But if insurance companies didn't want it done, they could stop doing it.
Well, if you just let me explain, I might be able to help here. Firstly, yes, insurance companies could stop on their own, but if they stopped on their own, plenty of other people would continue to do it. Claims management firms.
Well, where would they get people's personal insurance details from if it wasn't from the insurance companies giving them out for money?
If insurance companies stop doing it, those insurance companies that sell on details stop doing it overnight, other people will continue.
But when the insurance companies have been doing it, this is the kettle calling the pot black here.
Well, there are plenty of other people who are involved in this practice. Have some insurance companies been involved in the selling on of personal details as quite legally and as part of the system? Yes, they have.
Right, but they don't want anyone else to be doing it.
Well, hold on a second. That's not what I said. Do they want to stop this practice? Yes. And that is why we have said that referral fees must now be banned across the board. The government agree with us, and they are going to press ahead with their reforms to the compensation culture that we're currently suffering. And they will, as part of that, ban referral fees. So let's be quite clear about that, because they do two things. Firstly, they encourage people to make fraudulent and exaggerated claims, quite clearly wrong, and they push up the costs of insurance for every honest motorist out there.
Well, they don't push up the cost. The cost is put up by the insurance company, because that's what the thing is with insurance. If you end up having to pay out, which you hate doing, you just put the premiums up so you can't lose. Like I said, a racket.
Well, hold on a second. Let's make the point. Believe it or not, and I'm sure you're not going to believe this, insurance companies pay out more in claims and expenses than they get in premiums.
They'll get it back, though.
Well, hold on. We're here to pay genuine claims.
Malcolm Tarling, a spokesman from the Association of British Insurers. Thanks for your time this morning. Hi to Steve in Chiseldon, who sent these lyrics. We're gonna tell Oxford what we're gonna do. We're going up and you'll be stuck in League 2. Here we go. Robins all over the world. I like it, Steve, but we're talking about the Johnston's Pain Trophy. Simon Hughes is the deputy leader of the Liberal Democrats. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, Graham.
The Lib Dems poll ratings hitting the lowest for 14 years. Why are you so unpopular?
Well, the reason it's been difficult is because, firstly, we took a controversial decision that we had to have a new regime for university tuition fees. We weren't a majority government, so we couldn't implement our own policy. We had to negotiate one, and we didn't get the one we wanted. That gave us grief. And then we've had to implement a significant reduction in public expenditure to deal with the deficit, which means we're paying 120 million quid every day just in paying the interest on our debts. And that's not easy to deliver. But I think people are now realising that we are determined to have a fairer Britain. We are determined to go on taking the burden from the people at the bottom end, not just in Wiltshire but everywhere else. That's why we've taken nearly 1 million people out of tax already. That's why we have restored pensions to earnings, a link broken by Mrs Thatcher, never restored by Labour. And that's why we are expecting people who are better off to pay more. We want to keep the 50p tax rate for the few people who are very well off.
But 20 high-profile economists have urged the government to drop the 50p tax rate. They say it's doing lasting damage to the UK economy. Why do you want to keep it?
Well, I don't accept that, and we don't accept that.
Well, the Institute for Fiscal Studies says the 50% tax rate is costing the Treasury up to £500 million a year because high earners are sheltering their money abroad.
Well, there's a review going on at the moment, commissioned by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, into the effect of the 50p tax rate. We await the outcome of that review. If it shows that it's an inefficient economic mechanism, then we will look at other things. Vince Cable has talked about, and I support the idea that both for those who are non-domiciled in the UK, there ought to be a mansion tax. They have houses here, they pay nothing on them above anybody else from a normal family home, and we may need to look at alternative ways so we tax the wealth that is static and visible rather than taxing income. But we do need to make sure we have a fair tax system. We do need to make sure the people at the bottom end pay less, and the concentration of the government at the moment is to help pull us out of the difficult recession, not of this government's making, by putting more into the pockets of people with lower incomes, making sure they have more of their money to spend, making sure their lives aren't as difficult, to help them meet the demands of energy prices and the rest. And we're determined to go on doing that.
These sound like socialist policies.
It's a fairer Britain, which is...
It's certainly a lot further to the left than the Tories who you got in bed with.
Yeah, well, look, we got into bed with the Tories because no party got a majority. The country was in dire economic straits. We, in the national interest, took a decision to work with the party which got the largest number of seats and votes, and we did a deal for 5 years, and I'm sure that was the right thing to do.
You compromised your principles in return for power.
No, it's... if you're in power on your own, you can do what you want to do on your own. But if you have to enter into a coalition, you can't get your own way. Two people in a marriage, don't each of them get their own way all the time. You have to understand that there is a benefit in working together. Well, that's what we decided in the public interest. And
Simon Hughes, we're running out of time, but I quickly want to get on to one last thing that you're going to discuss today, which is the phone hacking. Are you still going to sue Rupert Murdoch's News International over the phone hacking?
Yeah, I have, like other people who were the victims, launched proceedings. The issue now is to make sure that, given there's a huge public consensus that we need to try to sort this out for once and for all, that we don't just concentrate on Murdoch and the Murdoch empire, that we deal with the other people whose organisations, the other media companies whose organisations regularly had people committing offences, that they get caught and dealt with, and then that we get a proper independent regulatory authority for the press that makes sure that this sort of looking after yourself and not worrying about the rules culture is ended forever, and we're determined to change that.
Simon Hughes, we're out of time. Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, thanks for your time this morning.
Tonight the team will be at the Jovial Monk pub. You can meet them there from 8 o'clock.
We're in the grip of Wembley fever. Is Sean going to see Paolo today?
What's the day? Thursday. Yes.
He will see him?
He is. Well, apparently, yeah.
Can you do me a favour? I'm putting this song together, you know, the Robins All Over the World song. I'm trying to get Swindon fans from all over the world to record a little message to put in the song. They're all doing like, hi, this is Dave from Sydney. Come on, Swindon. That's the kind of thing I've got. I want one from Paolo. Hi, this is Paolo Di Canio from wherever Italy. He's from in Italy. No, he must have a town he's from.
Yeah.
Or a city. And then, come on, Swindon. Do you reckon he'll get it?
You can ask. You can but ask.
I mean, yesterday you said to me that Paolo wasn't talking about Wembley yet.
He is and he isn't. I mean, I know that we've got two important league games to come before that, and I know they are organising a big media day next week for all the press, because again, with it being Paolo Di Canio, Swindon Town, all the national press are really getting to grips with this one now. But we can but ask. The problem is, every time you ask him a question, the answer's about 4 minutes long.
Yeah, well, the song's only about 3.5.
That might make the extended 12-inch mix possibly for later on. You never know.
The BBC's defended its decision to show a man dying on a programme about assisted suicide. Choosing to Die showed Wiltshire-based Sir Terry Pratchett investigating the options for ending his life. Dr. Peter Saunders is a campaign director of Care Not Killing. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Was the BBC right to show it last night, then?
Well, I don't think they were. I think it was grossly irresponsible of them to show it. I think what we saw was a very misleading and unbalanced piece of propaganda, where a patron of the Voluntary Euthanasia Society, now rebranded Dignity in Dying, was effectively given an international platform to produce a very one-sided account on this vexing issue.
Surely this has promoted debate, though. I mean, you're on. I bet this isn't the only radio station you're on this morning, and you wouldn't be given that opportunity without this show being on.
It's a very important debate. We've been having it for many years, and I agree it's an issue that our society is wrestling with at the moment. Of course we should talk about it, but the question you asked me was what I thought of the BBC's portrayal.
I asked whether they were right to show it, and yes, you said no.
Yeah, and I said no because I think there are very real dangers. There are very clear international guidelines on the media portrayal of suicide.
Are you against the assisted suicide of someone who's terminally ill?
I am I'm very much concerned about the effect of programs like this on vulnerable and impressionable people.
Do you think somebody who's in great pain, distress, terminally ill, and wants to end their life should be allowed to?
That's not the question. The question is...
It's the question I'm asking you, and that's the one I'd like an answer to.
Well, as a doctor who's looked after hundreds, if not thousands, of dying patients, and who's been in the position of seeing many, many people die and suffering from symptoms, I'd say no. The number of requests that you get for euthanasia when you look after people properly, attending not just to their physical needs, but to their social and psychological and spiritual needs as well, is very, very small. We're talking about a very, very small number of people. And the people last night, if anyone saw the programme, they weren't suffering from pain or discomfort.
So if they were suffering from pain or discomfort, you'd be okay with it then?
No, if a patient says to me, and I've had 2 patients in my entire practicing lifetime say to me, you know, I really feel like ending it all, like dying, just 2. And for both of them, we asked, well, what's the problem that's leading you to this conclusion? And they told us, and in both cases it was pain. We treated the pain, the request went. And actually requests to die from terminally ill people are extremely rare.
You mentioned spirituality. You're also the CEO of the Christian Medical Fellowship. Has this got more to do with you imposing your religious beliefs on people than dealing with dignity and death?
No, I don't think it has. Spirituality concerns questions of meaning and purpose, and these 2 men had clearly lost meaning and purpose in their lives, but Care Not Killing is an alliance of about 50 organisations. There are disability rights groups, there are professional groups, there are human rights groups, there are faith groups, of course, as well. We've got to remember that the law on assisted suicide has not changed, not from the reactions of people who are coming from a faith perspective, but an overwhelming majority of Parliament, all the 5 major disability rights groups, all the major medical professional groups are opposed to a change in the law. And to characterise this as a religious issue is really quite misleading. Obviously, I'm a Christian, and I have Christian convictions about the value of life. And that obviously informs my personal position to some degree, but it's largely a debate about public safety.
Dr. Peter Saunders, sadly, we're out of time. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Backing Swindon Town all the way in the Johnston's Paint Trophy Final. Just 4 hours to go till Swindon Town take on Chesterfield at Wembley. BBC Wiltshire.
Good morning, this is Graham Mack, live from Wembley Way, and it feels special. The sun is shining. Wembley Way has had thousands of people walk down it this morning, most of them, though, the staff for Wembley Stadium. There's a huge arch above us in the blue sky, the arch 134 metres high, the span of 317 metres, supporting the largest single-span roof structure in the world. Inside the stadium, 90,000 seats. Today, pretty much 30,000 of them will be filled with Swindon Town fans. And then, via the internet and the satellite, people taking notice of this game, the Johnston's Paint Trophy Final 2012, there are robins all over the world.
Everybody's watching the referee, who blows the full-time whistle, and Swindon have secured their place at Wembley.
All around the world we support our team, from Swindon to Sydney, everywhere in between, here we go. Oh, robins all over the world, from Tokyo, Japan to San Francisco Bay, the Rock of Gibraltar, and Wembley Way, here we go. Oh, robins all over the world, and I like it, 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 la 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 like it, we go. Oh, robins all over the world.
Hi, I'm Keith Lewis from Singapore.
Come on, Swindon.
Hi, this is Alana from Sydney, Australia. Go Swindon! Woo!
Hi, this is Paul from Munich in Germany. Wishing all the guys best of luck for the DPT final. Come on, boys, we can do it.
Hi, I'm Beryl Carter from Wichita, Kansas. Go Swindon!
Hi, I'm Pete Davis from Singapore. Come on, Swindon. Hi, this is Wally from Brisbane in Australia. Come on, the Thames. Let's have it this time. Let's go for it. Let's win.
They're cheering on the Robins in Afghanistan, the Falkland Islands and close to Iran. Here we go. Oh, Robins all over the world. And I like it, 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 la 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 like, here we go. Oh, Robins all over the world.
I'm Paolo Di Canio from Rome, Italy. Good luck, Swindon.
A team from Cricklade tried to climb the highest mountains in England, Scotland and Wales. They were doing it in memory of their friend, 26-year-old Wayne Wilson, who died from leukemia in January. The group was led by friend of the show, Damien Davis. Good morning, Damien.
Morning, Graham.
I've heard it didn't go to plan.
Well, we started from the foot of Ben Nevis.
And we spoke to you last week, just before you were off to Scotland to climb Ben Nevis. You were going to do Ben Nevis, Snowdon and Scafell Pike.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'd taken a crucial wrong turn at a fork in the path, and it wasn't until we got very close to the top that we realised the error of our ways.
You climbed the wrong mountain.
Ben Nevis has a lovely little monument at the top that says, "Welcome to Ben Nevis, this is the highest mountain in the UK."
Yes.
When we got to the top of our one, which was a lot steeper than we'd imagined it to be, we suddenly realised this was not in fact Ben Nevis.
Okay, so you got your 3 peaks challenge. First peak, you've muffed it. What happens now? Do you give up?
No, we thought we'd persevere. We said, right, let's crack on. We'll go and do Scafell Pike and see if we can get that and Snowdon in still within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we made our way down to the Lake District. We got there 2 hours after our initial planned start time.
Not bad, though.
No, not bad. But then I slipped and twisted my ankle. So
Don't mean to laugh, Damien, I'm sorry.
No, it was quite painful at the time.
I bet it was, yeah.
I had to make an emotional decision there and then to turn back because I didn't want to hinder the team.
Right, okay. Very noble, like that bloke with Scott. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But then 2 of the other lads made it back shortly after me, also with injuries.
So how many did that leave to climb Scafell Pike?
2.
2, okay.
The youngest 2, Mike Murray,
yes,
who had done it before with Kevin and myself in training,
yes,
and Carl, as you know, Wayne's brother.
Yes.
So waiting back at the minibus is myself, Kev and James from the climbing team, Carl's mum and dad,
right,
and Kevin the driver.
Yeah.
And we thought, right, at the pace they were going, they've got to be back by 10 p.m, just as darkness was falling.
And you've still got Snowdon to climb, yeah?
Yeah. But by midnight, there was no sign of them, and we were quite worried, so we rang Mountain Rescue. They did a full risk assessment, and they advised that the guys would probably have gone to ground. They'd had no distress signals sent, and because, obviously, we had all the right survival kit, they'd made the risk assessment that the guys would be fine. So in the morning, me and Carl's dad, Den, we basically climbed Scafell Pike at first light, 4:30 in the morning.
Now, you would have been quite worried at this stage for them.
We were extremely worried.
Yeah. So this would have been, all the laughing has stopped now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Now this, serious.
So Carl's dad and myself climbed Scafell Pike first thing in the morning at first light. We went right to the top and bottom, no sign of them. We rang emergency services again, and sure enough, they reported themselves missing at a pub in a remote village, the other side of the Lake District.
Well, how did they get there?
They'd gone up the mountain, obviously darkness had fallen, they'd seen where some lights were, assumed it was where we were, and by the time they got back down the bottom, they realised they were the other side of the mountain. It took us an hour and a half to drive round the Lake District to go and pick them up.
Okay, so the 3 Peaks Challenge, you've blown it with Ben Nevis, you've climbed the wrong mountain.
Yeah.
Your team has made Scafell Pike, 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a success.
Yeah.
It's a drama, but a success. Okay, what about Snowdon?
Well, we were already 6 hours behind the total finish time by the time we left the Lake District. So we abandoned the mission and went back to our auction and raffle.
In Cricklade?
Yeah, in Cricklade. And we told our story to the amusement of all the locals. But we raised nearly £10,000.
You raised nearly £10,000, and everyone who sponsored you is still going to pay up, are they?
Well, we had a couple of people who jokingly said they wanted a refund, or at least a third of it. But I think most people have stood by their original pledge.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's all for leukemia research.
All for leukemia research, yeah.
So, What do you think Wayne would have thought of it all?
I think he would be beside himself, rolling around laughing.
He wouldn't have wanted a better reason. He wouldn't have wanted you to do it. He would have wanted all this kind of stuff. He would have wanted a story. You're going to get more publicity now because of this than if you'd actually done it.
Everyone loves a failure.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger deal. You may even make more money because of this than if you'd done it properly.
We may well do.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for letting us follow your programme.
Thank you to you and all your colleagues at BBC.
We've just
us all the way through this.
We've just been enjoying the story, David. Now, have you got any more challenges, or is this it now?
Well, we've got some more up our sleeve, although I think a few people would like to see us actually do the 3 peaks before they sponsor us.
Please, David, for me, don't do the 3 peak. It's not to be.
All right, Graham, for you, we'll do something different.
Pick something easier. Pick three, I don't know, foothills in Wiltshire or something.
We did say the next 3 we'd attempt would be Common Hill, London Hill, and Blooming Hill.
Yes. Jamie and Davis from Team Wayne, thanks. Great to catch up with you again, mate. And well done raising all that money. There's been an angry reaction to Swindon Town Football Club's plans to sign the former Plymouth Argyle goalkeeper Luke McCormick. He killed 2 young boys in a drink driving crash in 2008. The first person on the scene was Derek Ballantyne. He's written to Swindon Town condemning their decision. Well, I spoke to Derek early this morning. I started by asking him to tell me what happened on that day.
We were going on holiday down to Cornwall from Scotland.
This is you and your wife?
Yeah, me and Vanessa. Travelled through the night. When we got round about Stoke-on-Trent Way on that particular day, I was driving behind the Peaks and their Toyota down the motorway. I could see in my mirror from way behind this car, Range Rover, driving erratically in and out, weaving in and out lanes and stuff. And the next minute he was actually going to run into the back of our car, but I moved over a little bit because I'd seen him. He was weaving into a lane, back out again, and when he passed me, his Range Rover just went suddenly sideways, ploughed straight into the Peaks car and knocked it straight off the motorway. Eventually came to a halt, Mr. McCormick's Range Rover. Me and the wife stopped. We were only witnesses at the time that stopped. Everybody else drove on. Mr. McCormick stayed in his vehicle. I just checked to see that if he was okay at the time, because it looked like more people were in the car, but it was just airbags going off. Anyway, went back up to the scene of the crash. Quite horrific.
I know this is difficult, Derek, but what did you see?
My wife already had 2 boys out of the car who were alive. She took the 2 boys down to our car out of the way, and there was 2 mangled kids in the car, which were the 2 boys. Phil Peak was obviously trapped in the car, couldn't get out, screaming for his boys. Couldn't do nothing for them, tried to get the boys out, couldn't. Just a mess. Eventually when all the ambulance crew and stuff arrived, it was later on then, must have been 2-3 hours later before McCormick even got charged, arrested. He was just sitting in his Range Rover all the time, just smoking cigarettes. I went down to the car, asked him what he thought he was doing. He sort of just, nothing sunk in at the time really, about the whole scene.
And did you have any idea then that he was drunk?
You could smell he was stinking his breath from the first time he stopped. He was stinking of drink and like stale garlic and things like that. He wasn't right. He wasn't legless. You couldn't say he was legless, you know. And I mean, even to the time he got breathalyzed, I mean, you're talking 2-3 hours afterwards, and he was still like double over the limit. So, what my point is about seeing him and what went on was that it's not just a case of how he was, you know, just somebody who's accidentally had an accident and, you know, a couple of kids have died. He was drink driving, not oblivious to what was going on. He wouldn't have actually seen. He wasn't aware of what he'd done.
When I spoke to the Swindon Town chairman on this show yesterday, he suggested that lots of people make the mistake of having too much to drink and then getting behind the wheel. But luckily this kind of thing doesn't happen. Was Luke McCormick unlucky?
No, because at the outcome of this court case and everything, it turned out that his friends and football colleagues from the wedding venue he'd been drinking it through the night realised he'd disappeared and was heading home in his Range Rover. And it came out in court that they were actually they'd phoned his mobile phone and were pleading with him to pull over and stop because they knew what state he was in and where he was heading. He was only heading down south to check on his girlfriend. That was what it basically came down to, why he had decided to go home in the state he was. He'd had an argument with some of his girlfriend previously and he wanted home. But it turned out that he'd been phoned by colleagues to pull over at the Hard Shoulder or the next services and park up and don't go anywhere. But he didn't. He just chose to carry on and carry on. He had a chance, like I said, he had a chance to stop by his friends and at the wedding venue, but he didn't. He just chose to carry on. And even for meeting him at that day on the crash, there was no remorse, nothing. He didn't know what had happened.
Did he say anything to you?
He asked me at first when I went back down to see him after the police took over from the scene. He just said to me, he says, "Oh, hiya mate, how are you doing?" And I just said, I'm not your mate, I says, well, you just took me by surprise. Then he says, how's your sons? I mean, there was nobody else there, And I says, what the hell are you on about, And I started to sort of lose my rag with him. Then I was trying to sort of pull and push him out of the Range Rover. I didn't know what to do. And then the police, my wife phoned the police from the side of the Hard Shoulder because she thought I was going to be doing something to him. And that's when they came down and decided to arrest him.
Derek Ballantyne, first on the scene and the only eyewitness to the crash that killed two boys. Luke McCormick was the driver of the car, goalkeeper with Plymouth Argyle at the time, and he's on trial for Swindon Town at the moment. He's been training while he's been on day release from prison. Now, Derek had a lot more to say, and he had a lot to say about what he thinks of Swindon Town's decision to have this goalkeeper on trial. And you can hear the second part of that interview that I had this morning with Derek Ballantyne at 8:05 this morning on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire. You should be able to find out if your new partner has a history of domestic violence. Well, that's what would happen if a new law comes in that's being called Clare's Law. In 2009, Claire Wood was murdered by a man she met on Facebook. He had a history of violence against women, including repeated harassment, threats, and kidnapping at knife point. Claire didn't know any of that. The Home Secretary, Theresa May, has put it to a public consultation. Robert Buckland is a member of the Commons Justice Committee and is the MP for South Swindon. He's in our Westminster studio. Good morning, Mr. Buckland.
Morning, Graham.
Why does the law at the moment protect these monsters?
Well, it's a good question, but actually just looking at the current law, the position is rather complicated. There is a right for somebody to go and ask the police for information, but it's not very well known. It's based upon old common law. It's not terribly clear, I think, and the problem that Claire encountered is one that I think all of us must be determined to try and minimise.
I mean, this case of Claire was horrific. She's a 36-year-old mum. The bloke she met, George Appleton, was a psychopath. He strangled her, set her body on fire, and then hanged himself.
Yeah.
If when she first made contact with him on Facebook, she would have been able to go to, say, a website and stick his name in there and see what his background was, none of this would have happened, though.
Well, local newspaper stories about trials and convictions aren't chip paper anymore. They're up there on the internet, and that is one way of finding out information. But of course, it's a very random and haphazard way of finding out information. And I think there needs to be a more structured system.
So you think there needs to be a dedicated website for vetting people?
Well, I think there needs to be a procedure that people will know that they can go to the police, and then the police can assess the situation together with other agencies.
If you're talking about going to the police, people aren't going to go to the police until the situation has got to a point that's out of hand. If at the original, when she first was contacted by him on Facebook, there was something simple she could do, that would have stopped it all, though, wouldn't it?
Well, what you've got to do, first of all, with this sort of information is balance out a couple of factors. One, obviously, the need to monitor serious and serial offenders. And we're talking about the types of people, the type of guy who murdered Claire.
And that monitoring clearly failed in this case.
Absolutely right. But next year we'll have a police national database coming online from the middle of the year, which means that if you've been committing an offence, say, down in Cornwall, and then you move up to Wiltshire, you'll be able to be tracked on that same database. Now, that's not something we've had before.
Yeah, but that's for the police. I mean...
Yeah, but it's important, because I do think that you've got to balance that out against, let's say, somebody who committed offences years ago, who's reformed themselves and who is genuinely rehabilitated. What about that sort of person? You can't just have a blanket system whereby it's a free-for-all. You need some structure so that a woman or...
Once again, you are protecting these monsters.
Well, I don't think we are. I think the whole aim of the scheme, the whole aim of the consultation, is to improve the monitoring of serious offenders. And I do a lot of work in Parliament on these issues, including reforming the law of stalking, which is an associated issue. You know, I'm very passionate about making sure that we monitor these people far more effectively, which is why I think that a structured system that allows somebody who has concerns about the behaviour or background of their partner can go to the police and find out that information.
I really don't think they're going to go to the police until it's too late. I mean, for instance, if I buy a used car, I can make one phone call or check a website and see if it's dodgy. Why can't we do that with people?
Well, I think what you have to remember, Graham, is that human beings come together in relationships and you develop a knowledge of each other. Now, you've got to ask yourself a fundamental question. If we start going down the line of, oh, I think I'd like to go out with X, let's go down the police station, or let's try and find out about him on the internet, I think you're starting to cross a line and to change a fundamental characteristic, if you like, of human relationships. What we've got to focus on is not so much, the right to know. It's about monitoring the serious and serial offenders. Now,
so you're scared of upsetting the snivel libertarians?
Not at all. It's a question of balance.
So what happens now?
Right, the consultation will finish in the new year. It's asking a number of questions. One of the proposals, the Right to Know scheme, is indeed based upon our own Chief Constable, Brian Moore's recommendations in his 2009 report. So our own Chief Constable in Wiltshire has been taking a lead on this issue. And I think that what I'd like to see, once the consultation is finished, I'd like to see a speedy response from the government and a quick decision so that if we need to pass legislation, that can be done as quickly as possible to tie in with the new police national database that comes on stream later next year.
MP for South Swindon, Robert Buckland, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Graham.
If you've been affected by any of the items that we've talked about in Domestic Violence Week, you can call the 24-hour National Domestic Abuse Helpline. That number is 0808 2000 247. That's 0808 2000 247. An angry reaction to Swindon Town Football Club's plans to sign the former Plymouth Argyle goalkeeper, Luke McCormack. He killed 2 young boys in a drink-driving crash in 2008. The first person on the scene was Derek Ballantyne. He's written to Swindon Town and criticised their decision to have the player on trial. He's also been critical of the length of the jail sentence given to Luke McCormack and the fact that Luke was in a open prison, was let out on weekends and trained with Swindon Town at the weekends, and was even released to attend his daughter's birthday. I asked Derek if he would be happier for Luke to return to football if the sentence he'd been given was tougher.
If it had been tougher, he would have been too old to be in the game. It it would have been better, you know. Part of his bargaining plea in court even was that to get his lenient sentence was that he already knew that he probably wouldn't be playing football again. Purely because, you know, I suppose because what he'd done he's killed two young kids in a drink driving accident. And how long, and it's like, when you read about what he's done when he's in prison, he's been out day release, he's been training with Swindon since January seemingly, and he's worked in charity shops. I mean, as sentence goes, how much time has he actually spent in prison? And while he's been in prison, what has he done? He's been in cushy prisons, they will have looked after him, they've been in the best of the sports facilities, the prisons he's been in. So he got sentenced to 7 years and 4 months. No, you don't even do the 7 years and 4 months. That's 3 years or something he'll have done by the time he released. I think it's the 12th of June. And all they've done is we've paid for him and been in prison to come out fit as a fiddle and go straight back into football. And when you read comments like, you know, about Mr. Ray at the club and everything at Swindon, saying they're a family club, and he's on about that, that Mr. McCormack can now put something back into the community to show troubles of drink driving and things like this. He's put down, you know, well, he's not been punished for drink driving and killing 2 kids, is he, properly? He's back in football because Swindon, well, not Swindon, Mr. Jeremy Ray, whoever's took him on, has got herself a cheap footballer, because at the end of the day, Luke McCormack seemingly was a good goalkeeper, an up-and-coming young lad. You know, he was going to be going places in proper, you know, big clubs. And Swindon have managed to grab themselves a bargain, because probably not many clubs would take him on. I mean, Plymouth Argyle finished with him, who he was employed with at the time of the crash, within 3-4 weeks of taking him, you know, from the incident happening. They weren't even going to wait to see what the court case was going to be. Yet, it's just, everything's just all wrong. And from meeting him that day, Mr. McCormack, no remorse, nothing. Even when you seen him going to court and everything, there's nothing at all searching the man's face or anything for remorse of what he'd done. It's just like, oh well, I've been in a drink driving accident. He's got nothing to relate to. He hasn't got scenes of carnage and children in bits in a crash carnage. He's got, you know, he's got statistics in his head of what he's done, and that's it. But at the time, I think it said the maximum he could have got was 14 years for what he'd done, killing the 2 lads. Okay, it's not his fault. It's not his fault, I suppose, of what the jail term is, but he, like I said, part of his plea bargain thing was that he wouldn't be in football again. So it suits at the time for trying to get a lenient sentence, and there you go, he's in the limelight. I mean, what it's doing to Amanda and Phil Peake, the parents of the boys, I do not know. It's bad enough for me reading and seeing things and knowing what's going on, and they're not my kids. Never met them before. I keep in touch with the family. I mean, when I say keep in touch with the Peakes, just feel sorry for them. And it's not just with sympathy, but, you know, but it's horrendous. And it never leaves you. I mean, to me, my wife, as though it's just happened yesterday. You could go through every detail and everything in your head from yesterday, you know, not from 3-4 years ago now. It's just like yesterday. But whereas, like, part of McCormack's punishment is he can't do that because he's not seen anything bad. And he should not be playing football. All right, he's served the cushy sentence and be out. If the man had any remorse about him himself, you'd be thinking twice about being seen in public limelight in the position he is. He'll have been told about what's going to happen and the bad publicity. He's obviously quite happy about that because he's got himself a job that he loves doing at the end of the day. Whereas everybody else around that day is damaged goods, everybody. And he's home and dry at the end of the day. And like I say, Swindon should stop and think about what they're doing at any football club. You just don't know what's their ideas are.
Derek Ballantyne, who was the witness at the scene. And earlier this morning he described what he saw when he ran to the Peaks car. And he saw the mangled bodies of the two boys that had died. And the most emotional part for me was hearing him talking about the father who was trapped in the car, screaming for his boys. Now, Swindon Town have defended their decision to give Luke McCormick a trial with the club. They say he deserves a second chance. What do you think? Joe Wheeler has been in touch on Twitter. He says, if Luke McCormick signs for Swindon Town, I'll still be a fan, but I won't attend any games until he leaves. James in North Swindon, good morning.
Good morning.
What are your views on this?
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I can only add to what the guy Derek has just been talking about. To me, the fact that he caused this accident by virtue of the fact that he was playing football, earned enough money to afford a large car, a Range Rover, I believe it was, and took the lives of two innocent boys. To me, it's just appalling, and he should never be allowed to play football again. I think, the reception he's going to get at Swindon, I'm sure there are many other people that feel as strongly about this as I do. I think the guy's an idiot. And, I think that Swindon Town should definitely not allow him to play.
Well, the judge did describe him that way. He said he was driving like an idiot. I spoke to Jeremy Ray, the chairman of the club, on this show yesterday, and Jeremy said the guy was young and daft, made a mistake and deserves a second chance.
No way. I think you take the lives through irresponsible behaviour of two young... look at the poor father in a wheelchair. I mean, to me, there isn't any justice in this, and I think that the comments that that guy made is just a lame excuse and a way of getting the guy to play for the town. So I'm sorry, but I just think it's appalling.
James in North Swindon, thanks for your call this morning. I'd love to know what you think. If you would like to have your say on this, 513366. The Church of England is selling its £1.9 million shareholding in Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. The Right Reverend Dr. Lee Rayfield is the Bishop of Swindon. He sits on the church's Ethical Investment Advisory Group. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Graham.
So why is the church selling its bit of News Corp?
It's basically because we have been very worried about the governance practices with News Corp over the last 18 months, 2 years. And in the light of the scandals that are emerging,
You're talking phone hacking?
With them. Well, phone hacking's part of it.
Well, since last July, News Corp share price has gone from $15 to $24. So the church is a business, and this makes good business sense to sell now.
That's not why we're doing it at all. That you can always spin anything, Graham. We're doing it because we engage with companies. If there are things we're concerned about, we don't just sell our shares straight away. We bring those concerns to companies. For example, in the last year, we've engaged with 40 companies, and most of them have been face-to-face meetings, including BP 5 times, AstraZeneca.
See, some people would say, like a company like BP, a fine company, but they're selling fossil fuels.
How did you get to work this morning?
I'm not making an ethical judgment. The church is, that's all I'm saying here.
Very interesting thing. Yeah, if we say, okay, yes, let's pull out of supporting fossil fuels. What we need to do is move away from fossil fuels to other sustainable.
Let's talk about the News Corp situation. Why did the church invest in News Corp in the first place?
Because it seemed a reasonable investment and was doing things reasonably responsibly. There was nothing about News Corp. The things that have emerged from News Corporation are the sort of things we've heard about in the last 2 years, which have made them completely a risk and a company where we're basically saying you've got governance structures which are far too dominated by family concerns and don't follow good business practice. You haven't dealt with...
But previous to this, you were happy with the way News Corp was run?
Yeah, well, of course, what happens is that as you look at the way, when things emerge, you look closely. You can't always predict what's going to happen, and you respond to what appears.
Well, what used to appear, what still appears and has appeared for a long time in the Sun newspaper owned by News Corp, are boobs on page 3. So the church was happy with that, but when the phone hacking, that was too much.
The church has a very clear policy about what it will support in terms of investing in things which are deemed as pornography or not. And so, that particular, there are some things which do not take an organisation, a company, into what we would say we can't really invest anymore with that.
So the church was happy with page 3?
Look, that's the kind of answer. Of course, we don't want people to be titillated, but at the same time, we actually don't say, well, as soon as you do one thing that we do not agree with, we take our investments away.
Because it's all about business, isn't it?
Listen a minute, Graham. Listen. This is quite serious stuff, because what we do is whenever there is a concern we have over anything which we think is not going to be healthy, not going to be good for society, we have to have something which helps us to engage.
The church preaches against corporate excesses and massive bonuses.
Yeah.
About 10% of the Church of England's capital is invested with hedge fund managers. In fact, the C of E is one of the largest UK investors in an industry notorious for large bonus payouts. Why does investing in hedge funds have the church's blessing, but investing in News Corp now doesn't?
Let me pick up the thing about executive remuneration. Last year, we wrote to 200 companies about their executive remuneration policies.
Did you pull out your investment from any of those, like you've done with News Corp?
You don't seem to understand that these are processes of engagement. We actually get down and we discuss our concerns. You can't just take away your investments just because of one or two things. You have to.
Well, that's what you're doing with News Corp.
No, it's not. This is a.
You said it's because of the phone hacking
Graham,
and the way they're wrong.
You're wrong there, because this is a long history of trying to engage with a company and saying, this is something we would like to see changed, and then realizing, actually, at the moment, there's no likelihood of the kind of governance structures that we need to see to believe that there are going to be changes in this corporation.
Okay, well, hedge fund partners earned £3 billion during the economic crisis. The church has no plans to remove its £5.5 billion portfolio from there?
What we do is we engage with different organisations individually, and so as ones which have practices which we are not satisfied are best corporate governance, are doing things in areas which we cannot support, we'll engage with them. And then, if the evidence is such that it's the sort of thing that we would not want to support and they're not moving, we will disinvest from them.
Bishop Lee Rayfield, sadly we're out of time.
OK, Graham, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time this morning. The row over Swindon Town's decision to give a trial to Luke McCormick continues. Yesterday, we heard from a lot of fans against the move. The Professional Footballers Association has arranged for him to do some work in the community when he's released from jail. Gordon Taylor is the chief executive of the PFA. Good morning, Gordon.
Good morning.
Arranging for him to do work in the community, that's just a way of spinning this, isn't it?
Sorry, no, that isn't the main part of it. He's extremely remorseful. If he could put back the clock, he would. But he has he has had his penalty, and we have a civilised society, I think, whereby once they've done that, they should be then rehabilitated back into society. He has a wife, he has a child, and this is his profession. Obviously, he may not get a club, but if he does get a club, that's his best skill. Otherwise, he's got to get some job to look after his family.
What
he wanted to do as well was to really get involved in community work, but that
he doesn't have to play football to do that, though, does he?
No, but what we do have in football is a good social responsibility programme that if any player, this can even set up their own foundation for any particular group of disadvantaged children or...
But anyone can do that?
Yes, they can, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course they can, but footballers do it more than most, actually. Last year we had I think there was nearly 40,000 visits to such programmes by players.
You say he's done his penalty. Well, the maximum penalty for what he did is 14 years. He was given 7 years and 4 months, and he's only serving about 3 years of that in an open prison, let out on weekends to train with Swindon Town. He's been working in charity shops. Part of the deal, well, it wasn't a deal, but part of what was taken into account was he said he'd never play football again. That was at his trial, and then now he is going to play football again. Has he? It does look, doesn't it, like there's one law for footballers and a different law for everybody else.
No, I don't see why that should be the case, because that happens with all sorts of cases.
But but they can afford better lawyers, more expensive lawyers who are good at getting people off things like this, particularly driving offences.
No, that wasn't the case. It was a very serious offence, and, the judges have all the parameters there, and it was, a terrible tragedy. I don't want to get into that, because that was horrific. So you can judge or quantify the length of time he's been in prison. That's your personal judgment. We've just got to...
Well, you were making the judgment. You were saying that what he got, he's paid his penalty by doing his time, and now it's over, and now
well, that's the way the justice system works, yeah. It's not, you're making out it's special for him as opposed to other people. It wasn't special for him, it was that special for him, and he had such good lawyers who, because he could afford them, he would have got off the charge, wouldn't he? But he didn't, and he's paid a price, the same as anybody else would do in that situation. And that's tragic enough, but are you denying him the right to now, if he does come out, to try and earn a living in the world?
He doesn't have to be a footballer, though.
No, he doesn't. If he can't there's no guarantee he gets a job as a footballer. That's his best skill. Otherwise, he has to retrain and do whatever he can to get a job, and it's hard enough to get a job these days.
Do you know him, Gordon?
I don't know him personally. We were in touch with him. I know people who do know him, and we did go down. My deputy in Manchester, John Bramwell, went down to see him in prison. He wanted to get his life back together. He wanted to look after his family. He was full of remorse, and he wants to put something a lot more back into the community, and we'll give him that opportunity. I wouldn't want you saying that's just paying lip service to it, but you can do. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating.
You've been quite outspoken about different things in the game. You said that players found guilty of racial abuse should be sacked. Does the PFA see racist abuse as a worse crime than causing the death of 2 children?
Well, clearly, causing the death of 2 children was horrific, and he lost his job at the club. That's what happened. He's not back at Plymouth now. He left, gone. Doesn't get paid whilst he's in prison. That's it. It's finished. The same. It's not, football isn't an oasis from law and order. All my players are under the same rules of the land. Now, what we're saying with regard to racist abuse is that is to put in a category of gross misconduct. So it is open to a club, and it's to really focus on it to try and make sure we don't have any more incidents like we've had this year, and to make managers, staff at clubs, senior players coming in from abroad, and even board of directors aware that, we've got to eradicate this from football now that we have such a cosmopolitan game.
What about abuse that Luke is bound to get from the fans?
Well, again, you've got, when it's, rescued been through what he's been through, that's something he's going to have to live with, and that's for him alone to live with. But I hope there will be also people out there who appreciate, that he's been under the justice systems, and now if he gets his chance to be out, he's got a job to do for his family and his youngster. But that doesn't mean to say he's not contrite or full of remorse for what happened.
So are the PFA supporting him then in his bid to play for Swindon Town?
Well, we couldn't deny him the right, even if we wished to. We wouldn't want to deny him that right. The same as if you and me were in something like that had happened and you came back out and your skill was as a broadcaster. I hope your union would look to get you re-engaged as in the media.
I doubt very much whether if I was responsible for 2 children dying, that I would live in the same country again. Never mind go on the radio there.
Well, that would be your choice.
Gordon Taylor, Chief Executive of the PFA. Thanks for your time this morning. Swindon is supposed to have a free Wi-Fi system. So far, it's cost the council hundreds of thousands of pounds, and hardly anyone can use it. In November of 2009, the rollout was announced, and a month later, the trial area was announced. It was Highworth. The original target of having the whole borough covered by April 2009 has come and gone. In August, the man behind the scheme, Ricky Hunt from Digital City, gave me the latest.
I'm 10 months late, and I know, it's terrible. It is. It's really frustrating for us. But that's life, and that's business, when these things happen. I've got to, as a businessman, work my way around them and push us through it. Highworth's 90% done. The only date I'll give anybody is by the end of September, I will be out of Highworth and giving them a birthday party. It'll be finished, and they can all have it for free for a while.
Ricky Hunt joins me in the studio now. Thanks for coming in, Ricky.
Yeah, no problem.
So, did you have a party?
We're out. We're one of the things that we have to recognise in any networks, O2 networks, is you get areas where you just can't get it. You just can't do it. So we're in Highworth, we're done to a point where we're happy now. It'll improve because as with any network, as I was saying about mobile networks, they're all the same, and ours is a wireless network. We have our furniture goes on, our boxes rather go on street furniture, on the lampposts and in particular, and we have areas where we can't get on lampposts because they're concrete, and our boxes are perceived to breach the integrity of concrete, because they weigh a kilo and a half. It's not heavy, but it's perceived as, in some areas, you can't put the box on it. So we're working with the council who have because these lampposts are very old, you can imagine, who have a replacement programme of lampposts. And so it'll evolve and evolve and evolve. But you never, I don't think we'll ever finish in Highworth, as we'll never finish in Old Town or wherever we go. We'll get 99% of it done, and somebody, in fact, actually there's a black spot. It's interesting, there's a black spot on Gonard Avenue where my phone goes dead on O2, and it's just weird. It just happens. So yeah, we're happy that we've got a lot of people on the network, a lot of people using it, and downloading a lot of data.
So do you regret telling me
yeah
that it was all going to be done by the end of September
anyway.
in the Highway?
Party anyway.
You see, this is the problem I have with you.
Yeah.
Is you are a really, really nice fella, and I really like you, and you're very warm and you come across, but the facts are you haven't met a single deadline on this.
No, well, we haven't actually. No, you're quite right. But, that's life. And it's dead easy now to give up. But no, I won't do that. It's a good project.
See, but that's life. This is business.
Absolutely. Well,
this is £400,000 of the council's money.
Yeah, but hang on. But with all the people that are on it, we've got over now 5,000 people registered to use the network. And
so is it making money?
No, because we've been giving it away for free, as you know, while we're building out. So that we've got 450 people, unique people, using it during August, September, which are generally quiet months. Before that, it was about 600 a month. And they're on it for about 45 minutes each time. They're on it for about 7-8 hours a month. So there's a lot of people using it and downloading a lot of stuff. So no, highly valuable project, and a lot more to come.
Now, you're saying that when you started putting it on, there was problems with lampposts and stuff. Doesn't that sound like poor research on your part, though?
Yeah, in part, it's quite right that when we first signed the deal, we were going to spend 2 or 3 months just in Highworth doing all the surveys. Unfortunately, things ran away with us, and once the story had leaked, it was get on with it, and we got caught out. Yeah, no question.
Are the council going to get their money back?
I'm still confident that there's a long-term deal in here. It's very clearly a different shape, and different opportunities come up day by day, as do different challenges.
Shouldn't they get their money back now, since you've missed all the deadlines?
I tell you what, I wish I could give them it back now.
Do you? Are you sorry you got involved in it?
No, not actually. No, I'm not. The council are fabulous. I mean, they have been fabulous to me, I have to tell you. What I'm disappointed about is all the heat around the loan. Having a council as a partner is a great thing to do, because they give me integrity with other councils. So that's got to be very, very good. And of course, as I said, they've been very supportive in helping me get the network up. They're as frustrated as many other people are at the fact that I've not been able to achieve what we wanted to.
So what is the timescale for the payback of the money?
Yeah, well, the timescale at the moment is we're still planning. It's the end of year 2. The money's got to be paid back to the council.
So we must be close to that now, aren't we?
No, end of year 1. Give me a break.
All right.
End of year 2, the money will be paid back, and
it will be paid back.
I'm still confident that we can pull this off. Still confident we can pull it off. And I said before, we've got something like 450 people a month using it, unique people a month using it. They're on it for 45-minute sessions. It's people are using it and enjoying it. I've just got to get it out there.
There are 22 council wards in Swindon. You were supposed to have them all wired up by now.
Yeah.
You've got one done. Are we going to have to wait 22 years at this pace to get the whole town done?
That's out of order.
When's it going to be all done?
Hopefully not 22 years. That'll be past me. It'll be
at
done
this pace, it's going to be 22 years.
Yeah. It will be as quick as I can get it up, And I think one of the things I've learnt on putting networks up, and as you know, I'm relying on my technical partners who are good, but one of the things I've learnt is I'm over-optimistic. Even they've been telling me that.
So be optimistic. When will it be done?
If I was optimistic, it'll be finished this time next year.
So it'll be finished this time next year?
Yeah.
So that's nearly 22
years.
That means you're going to do one a month? There's 22 council wards, you've done one. You've got 21 to do.
Yeah. It doesn't quite work
If you did
like
one
that.
A month, that's 21.
It doesn't quite work like that, because all you do is, once you've got the proper finances in place, you just do a multiple rollout. So
okay.
That's physically doable. It's more about now getting myself in a position to do it. But
this time next year?
Yeah.
5th of October 2011, we'll all have Wi-Fi.
And I'm not coming back again until then.
You may have to come back again then. Ricky Hunt from Digital City, thanks for talking to me this morning.
No trouble.
Weekdays from 12.
Swindon Town won't be offering a first-team contract to the goalkeeper Luke McCormack. He was released from prison earlier this summer. He served half of his 7-year sentence for killing 2 boys in a drink-driving accident. McCormack had been training with Swindon. He was offered the chance to continue with Swindon's youth team, as well as working on community projects. But he's chosen to pursue other footballing opportunities. Luke McCormack's agent is Clive Hart. Good morning, Clive.
Morning.
You're an agent, so you make your living by taking a cut of your client's wages. Did you advise him not to stay at Swindon because there's no money in it?
No, it's nothing like that at all. If you mean no money for Luke or no money for me?
Well, both, because you only make money if Luke makes money.
Firstly, thank God I've got other projects going on this summer and last summer and January which will cover my expenses. So, the situation Luke is in, making money from Luke McCormack is not a top priority for myself at the moment. The reason he's not staying at Swindon is nothing really to do with my money, and to a degree it's nothing to do with his money either.
Has Luke not been offered a contract at Swindon because they don't need a goalkeeper, or because he killed 2 children?
That's a tough question. Luke has been in there to train. That's been going on since January, as you're probably aware. My understanding from the chairman and from the football people at the club is that he's done well in training. Obviously, he joined in some of the pre-season with the youth team and with some of the fringe players. He obviously didn't go with on the trip to Italy, but the club didn't feel that the time was right to be able to offer him a contract. they weren't able to put a time scale on it either. They made a very good offer to Luke in terms of being able to go in and train with their youth team and development squad, and also to get involved in some community work. But unfortunately, on a practical level, it just wasn't something we were able to do.
What was the reason the club gave then for not offering him a contract?
They just felt the time wasn't right, really, at the moment. I mean, by the way, you know, I've certainly not come on the radio to criticise Swindon Town. In fact, quite the opposite. I think Jeremy Ray has been magnificent where Luke is concerned. I know Jeremy's taken a lot of flack from a lot of people. But, you know, you've got to understand as well that one of the reasons that Jeremy was prepared to take that flack is that he's met Luke McCormick and was very impressed with him as an individual. I think as well, Graham, you know, obviously Luke's had a lot of criticism in the papers and no one has been able to stand up for him up until this point, which is why now, you know, for the first time I've agreed to speak, just simply because, you know, there is another side to things. You know, I can tell you the following, Graham. I looked after Luke McCormick from the age of 17. He was 24 when the tragic events of 2008 occurred. So I looked after him for 7 years during that period and got to know him very well, and can only tell you the following, that number one, he was a very decent lad who was never a minute's bother to myself. During 7 years at Plymouth Argyle, he never had any disciplinary issues whatsoever, inside or outside of the club. And if you were to go to speak to some of his high-profile managers, who Tony Pulis, Ian Holloway, Paul Sturrock, obviously the ex-Swindon manager, I think if you spoke to them off the record, I don't think you would find one of them with a bad thing to say about him. So you are basically talking about a pretty decent lad who obviously made one very, very tragic mistake with the worst possible consequences. And obviously he's been somewhat demonised in the press, mainly by people that have obviously never met him, of course.
Was Luke surprised by the national media's reaction to him training with Swindon?
Not really. Obviously, as I said to you, you know, I'm not a Johnny-come-lately here. I was involved with Luke at the time of the 2008 incident, and obviously it was front page of every newspaper when it happened, and, you know, Sky News and everything else. So, no, I expected there to be a backlash, or certainly attention given to Luke's training. So, no, I don't think it surprised us at all, really. Possibly, and it's not for me to say, possibly it took Swindon a little bit by surprise.
How has the experience of the incident in 2008 and the prison sentence, how has that changed, Luke?
I'm not sure. Well, you know, I've got to be very careful. You know, I don't really want to talk about the incident. I can only say to you that, you know, Luke, as I say, has always been a very decent young man. He's 28, well, in fact, he's just turned 29. I don't myself notice any huge changes in him. He was a fairly humble individual prior to the incident. He's a fairly humble individual now. He's always been grateful for any help and assistance he's had, and he remains that type of individual to me, really. I don't sort of see any big difference in him.
Does he still have a drink?
Does he still have a drink? Well, I think that's a slightly loaded question, because I'm sure you saw a picture that was in the Sun a few weeks ago.
Well, maybe you could clear that up for us. I mean, you know, obviously the tabloids are making out that he's, you know, almost as if he's out on a bender. I mean, what were the circumstances behind that?
My understanding, obviously I wasn't there, my understanding of the circumstances were that he lives down in Devon, and sort of took himself off, and it was, you know, of an evening, and went and had a drink. Now, I don't know where the photographer was who took the picture. I mean, obviously, if you've seen the picture, it looks like the photographer was stood right in front of him, but that just wasn't the case. You know, at the end of the day, he's fulfilling the, you know, the criteria of his license, really, and there's nothing in his license that says he can't have 1 pint of an evening. So, you know, I'm not quite sure where you're going with that, but no, he's not teetotal.
What do you say to people who say serving less than 4 years in a category C or D prison for killing 2 children, and then being allowed to pick up his life where he left off isn't justice?
I really don't want to talk about the case, but I will only say this, is that prisoners are obviously given whatever sentence they're given. That's not decided by them. It's not even as if he appealed the sentence and had it reduced. The sentence is what was given to him. He served his sentence. Talking as I did before about his behaviour and disciplinary situation, again, my understanding was he served his sentence in an exemplary fashion without any problems. So, in terms of being able to continue his life, well, quite clearly that's not the case, because I know from Luke not a day goes by when he doesn't think about the events of 2008 and, the kids involved. As I say, I don't want to go into that. And in terms of being able to carry on his life, quite clearly it's not as easy as you're suggesting, because for those people who haven't seen Luke McCormick play, I can tell you without sounding like a biased agent that Luke was one of the very best goalkeepers in the Championship in the 2007 season. And here we are, and at the moment he hasn't even got any offers from League One or League Two, and that's not going to be for footballing reasons necessarily. So you can't just say that he's come out of prison and just picked up on, his life as was, because that's not the case. The reason he's not signing for Swindon has nothing to do with the fact that there's other offers. We're very hugely appreciative of everything Swindon have done for him, but the suggestion of coming in and training 2 or 3 times a week with the youth team on a practical level just doesn't work for Luke. So it's not that he's turned that down because there's other offers. We will have to see who's prepared to do what, really. I mean, I would only say this, and again, I don't want to go into details. The other footballers who have been to prison, some of them involving incidents where there were fatalities, have been given second chances by the world of football, and Luke, I suppose, hopes that he'll get the same opportunity.
So what are you hoping for, Clive?
I'm hoping that someone, and yes, it will take, a brave chairman, a brave manager, that someone will give Luke an opportunity to get back into football. I mean, you've got to remember this. Luke is actually not a Plymouth boy. Luke is from Coventry. I believe he moved down to Plymouth at the age of 15, 16, joined their youth setup. Football is the only job that Luke's ever had. And, that's the career he wants to go back into. So that's what he wants to do, Graham. It's as simple as that.
Clive Hart, agent of the goalkeeper Luke McCormick. Good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for your time, Clive.
No problem.
A Christmas wish on BBC Wiltshire.
I want to make your Christmas the best ever. We've got no money, but we've teamed up with the Swindon Advertiser, and with your help, who knows what we can achieve. A fortnight ago, I spoke to Kate Field on the show. She told me about her Christmas wish.
I was burgled at the end of last week, and the people that came in have stole a number of things, including my son's Christmas present, including a bike. So, yeah, it's just a really terrible time, I'm sorry.
So all the Christmas presents have gone?
Not well, I'd been staggering the Christmas presents. I'm a working single mum,
yeah,
and I've been saving over a period of time, and that's what was taken.
That was Kate Field when she called up and told us about what a lousy time she's having this Christmas. Ashley Heath is at the house now with Kate and her son Harrison, who's 3 going on 4. Good morning, Ashley.
Hi, good morning, Graham. Yes, I'm in the living room with Kate and Harrison, who's playing on his bus driver's steering wheel, and he's taken us on a journey all around Swindon. And really, that's the extent of the joy in this household at the moment, because, as you quite rightly said, and as we've heard Kate explain, she was the victim of a burglary. Kate is with me. Kate, if you'd like to step over here, please. Kate, I'm sorry to walk you through it again, but for the benefit of those listeners who don't know the story yet, what happened before Christmas?
About 3 weeks ago, I came home to find my back door had been broken into and lots of possessions taken, including my television, my Hoover, a DVD camera with a disc in of Harrison's first Christmas, his first birthday. I think his first steps might have been on there as well. and also Harrison's Christmas present, his bike.
Kate, it's Graham Mack from Swindon's BBC Wiltshire. How are you this morning?
Not too bad.
Now, we know there's good news on the bike because your parents have sorted that out, but you've got no TV. Your whole Christmas it's gone. How's it making you feel?
It's awful. In the house at the moment, it's just really tired. It's not so bad during the day when Harrison's awake, but obviously once he goes to bed, the house is really quiet, and you obviously pick up on every noise that's in there. So,
what would it take for your Christmas wish to come true?
A miracle.
Why don't you go out the door and have a quick look at what's out there?
Can you hear it now?
Oh my goodness.
We've got the team there from the Swindon Concert Band making it feel extra Christmassy for you. Kate, that's the Swindon Concert Band. They've come to your house.
Oh my goodness.
We've also got you a brand new television, thanks to John Lewis. It's a 32-inch Samsung flat screen TV. Asda have helped us out there. They've got your hamper. That's got your Christmas pudding, your gingerbread, your groceries. We've got a DVD player and perfume. We've got you Panto tickets for the Wyvern Theatre. We know you've lost some memories with the Wyvern Theatre. Heard about this, and they're going to make some nice new memories for you. We've got your tickets to see Peter Pan starring Paul Nicholas.
Oh, brilliant.
How's that for you?
That's absolutely amazing, thank you.
Have we made your Christmas wish come true?
Yes, you have, yes.
That's great. Kate, Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to everyone that made this Christmas wish come true. And I think the Swindon Concert Band can play us out with Ding Dong Merrily on High. Merry Christmas from Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show
on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.